My 32nd birthday arrived with a package from my parents, who I hadn't spoken to in 3 years. When my husband Tyler saw the box sitting on our doorstep that morning, his face completely drained of color. "Don't open it," he shouted, grabbing my wrist. "Can't you see it?" I looked closer at the cardboard and noticed tiny holes punched throughout, and something inside was definitely moving. Instead of opening it like every fiber in my body wanted to, I stepped back and called 911. 30 minutes later, police arrived wearing hazmat suits. What my parents sent wasn't a gift at all. It was revenge for a secret Tyler never told me. The silence between my parents and me had stretched for 3 long years, a chasm that opened the day I announced my engagement to Tyler. I still remembered the exact moment their faces changed when I showed them my ring, how my mother's coffee cup slipped from her fingers and shattered on their kitchen floor, how my father stood up so fast his chair fell backward. "You can't marry him," my mother had said, her voice shaking in a way I'd never heard before. "Bertha, please, you don't know who he really is. He's dangerous." My father had added, his hands clenched into fists. "We've heard things, sweetheart. People talk. There are rumors about his past that you need to know." But I was 30 years old then, successful in my career as a marketing director and tired of my parents trying to control my life. They disapproved of every boyfriend I'd ever had found fault with every choice I made. This felt like more of the same controlling behavior that had pushed me to move across the country in the first place. "You don't even know him," I had fired back. "Tyler is kind and gentle and treats me better than anyone ever has. You're just making up stories because you can't stand to see me happy without your approval." The argument had escalated from there. My mother called Tyler a con artist. My father threatened to hire a private investigator. I told them if they couldn't support my happiness, they weren't welcome in my life anymore. Those were the last words I'd spoken to them directly. The wedding happened 4 months later, a small ceremony with just Tyler's family and our friends. The empty chairs where my parents should have sat felt like accusation marks, but Tyler held my hand and told me I was brave for choosing love over manipulation. His parents, a sweet elderly couple from Oregon, welcomed me like the daughter they'd never had. For 3 years, I'd convinced myself I made the right choice. Tyler was everything a husband should be: attentive, caring, successful in his software development job. We bought a house in the suburbs of Denver, adopted a golden retriever named Max, and started trying for children. My life felt complete even with the parent-shaped hole in it. But this morning, while Tyler was at his early meeting, I was using our shared iPad to look up recipes when a message notification popped up. It was from my mother, to Tyler. My hands started trembling as I opened the message thread. The conversation went back 6 months. 6 months of my husband secretly communicating with the parents I'd cut off. The messages were cryptic but frequent. "The plan is working. She doesn't suspect anything." Tyler 3 months ago. "We need more time. This has to be done right." My mother 2 months ago. "She's starting to ask questions about the insurance policies." Tyler 3 weeks ago. Then we moved to phase 2. Margaret and I are ready. My father 1 week ago. "The package will arrive on her birthday. Make sure you're home." My mother yesterday. My stomach churned as I scrolled through message after message. The 2 people I loved most in the world, who I thought hated each other, had been conspiring behind my back. About what and why? When I heard Tyler's car in the driveway 2 hours early, I knew he'd received an alert about the iPad activity. He burst through the door, his face flushed and breathing hard. "Bertha, I can explain." He started, then his eyes went to the window where the package sat on our porch. "Oh God, it's here already. Don't go near it. Please just don't go near it." "What's in the box, Tyler?" My voice sounded steadier than I felt. "What have you and my parents been planning?" He ran his hands through his hair, a gesture I'd once found endearing but now seemed calculated. "It's not what you think. They were trying to... I was trying to protect you. From them. They're not who you think they are, Bertha." Says the man who's been lying to me for 6 months. "I haven't been lying, I've been managing a situation. Your parents are dangerous people. They have connections, resources. When they reached out to me, I had to play along to keep you safe." A knock at the door interrupted us. Tyler moved faster than I'd ever seen him move, practically throwing himself between me and the entrance. "Don't answer that," he commanded. But I was done taking orders. I pushed past him and yanked open the door to find the delivery driver from earlier standing there, clipboard in hand. "Sorry to bother you again, ma'am, but I realized I forgot to get a signature for that package. Company policy for anything marked fragile and live contents." Live contents. The word sent ice through my veins. "I'll sign for it," Tyler said quickly, reaching for the clipboard. I stepped forward, blocking him. "Actually, I have some questions first. Which delivery company do you work for?" The man shifted uncomfortably. Express Solutions, ma'am." "Funny because your uniform doesn't have a logo, and I've never heard of Express Solutions." Tyler grabbed my arm. "Bertha, stop." The man's eyes darted between us, and something in his expression made my skin crawl. He wasn't nervous like a caught delivery driver would be. He was assessing, calculating. "Who are you really?" I demanded. He took a step back, and I noticed the way his hand moved toward his pocket, not like someone reaching for a phone, but like someone checking a weapon. "I'm just trying to do my job, ma'am." "Then you won't mind if I call Express Solutions to verify your employment." I pulled out my phone. The man turned and walked quickly toward a van parked across the street, no logo on that either. But before he got in, I saw him pull out his phone and snap several pictures of our house. "What the hell is going on, Tyler?" My husband sank onto the porch step, head in his hands. "I hired him, the security company. Your parents have been making threats, Bertha. Serious threats. That package, whatever's in it, someone knew exactly when to deliver it. They knew my schedule, knew when you'd be alone." "Security threats. Tyler, you're not making any sense. Your mother isn't just some retired teacher, Bertha. She was a federal prosecutor. And your father, his import business. It's not just furniture he brings into the country." The world tilted sideways. Everything I thought I knew about my family, my marriage, was crumbling like sand castles at high tide. That's when I noticed the sounds coming from the box on our porch, soft scratching noises like fingernails on cardboard. And through those tiny holes, something moved. Something with too many legs. "We need to call the police," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Yeah," Tyler agreed, and for the first time since I'd known him, he looked truly terrified. "Yeah, we really do." The 911 operator kept me on the line while we waited, her calm voice a lifeline in the chaos. She told us to evacuate the house immediately to get as far from the package as possible. Tyler and I sat in my car at the end of our driveway, watching our home like it might explode at any moment. "Units are 3 minutes out," the operator assured me. "Can you describe the package again?" "It's about 2 feet by 2 feet, brown cardboard, lots of small holes punched in it. There's definitely something alive inside, multiple somethings from the sound." Beside me, Tyler kept checking his phone, typing messages, then deleting them. His hands shook so badly he could barely hold the device. "Who else knows about this package?" I asked him. "Just your parents and—" He trailed off as 3 police cars screamed around the corner, followed by what looked like a hazmat vehicle. God, this is really happening. Officers in regular uniforms established a perimeter, while 2 figures in full hazmat suits approached our porch. The whole scene felt surreal, like something from a movie happening on our quiet suburban street. Neighbors came out of their houses, phones raised to record the drama. "Sir, ma'am, I'm Detective Sarah Chen." A woman in plain clothes approached our car. "I need you both to come with me to the station while the hazmat team secures the package." "I'm not going anywhere until I know what's in that box," I said. "Ma'am, for your safety." My parents sent it. My estranged parents, who apparently have been plotting with my husband. I deserve to know what's inside. Detective Chen studied me for a moment, then nodded. "You can observe from a safe distance, but if the team says evacuate, we evacuate. No arguments." We stood behind a police van, watching through its windows as the hazmat team carefully lifted the box with specialized tools. One of them had a snake hook, the kind used to handle dangerous reptiles. My mouth went dry. "Opening the package now," one of them announced through the radio. Even from 50 feet away, I could hear Tyler's sharp intake of breath as the lid lifted. The hazmat technician jerked back, nearly dropping the box. "We've got spiders," he reported. "Dozens of them, requesting immediate containment protocols." "What kind of spiders?" Detective Chen asked into her radio. There was a pause, then, "Brazilian wandering spiders, highly venomous. This is an attempted murder weapon." The world narrowed to a pinpoint. Brazilian wandering spiders. Even I knew those were among the deadliest in the world. My parents had sent me a box of death for my birthday. "I need to sit down," I mumbled, and suddenly Tyler's arms were around me, guiding me to the curb. "Breathe, baby, just breathe," he murmured, but his voice cracked with his own fear. Detective Chen crouched in front of us. "Mr. Morrison, Mrs. Morrison, I need you to understand the severity of this situation. Those spiders could have killed you within hours. Now I need complete honesty. Do either of you know why someone would want you dead?" Tyler's whole body tensed against mine. "It's complicated." "Uncomplicated," the detective said flatly. "Because right now you're looking at either victims of attempted murder or co-conspirators in some bizarre insurance fraud scheme. Which is it?" "My wife's parents are trying to prove a point," Tyler said quietly. "They think I'm dangerous. This is their sick way of showing her." Tyler stopped talking in riddles. I pushed away from him, anger finally burning through the shock. "What point? What are they trying to prove?" Detective Chen's radio crackled. "Detective, you need to hear this. We found a note in the bottom of the box." A hazmat technician brought over an evidence bag containing a single sheet of paper. Through the plastic, I could read my mother's distinctive handwriting. "He killed his first wife the same way. Check the death certificate. Sarah Morrison 5 years ago. Spider bite in her sleep. We're not letting him do it to you. Happy birthday, sweetheart. Mom and Dad." The earth stopped spinning. First wife. Tyler had a first wife who died from a spider bite. I turned to look at my husband, this man I'd shared a bed with for 3 years, who I'd trusted with every part of myself. His face had gone gray, aged 10 years in 10 seconds. "Tyler." My voice came out strangled. "You were married before—" "Bertha, I can explain. Were you married before—" I screamed it this time. "Yes," he whispered. Detective Chen stood slowly. "Mr. Morrison, I'm going to need you to come with me. You're not under arrest, but I have some questions that can't wait." "I'm not leaving my wife." "That's not your choice anymore," I said, standing on unsteady legs. "Detective, I want to press charges. Against everyone. My parents for sending deadly spiders, my husband for whatever he's been hiding. Everyone." "Ma'am, I understand you're upset." "Upset." I laughed, but it sounded hysterical even to my own ears. "I just found out my parents tried to kill me to prove my husband killed his first wife. Upset doesn't even begin to cover it." Another officer approached the detective and whispered something urgently. Her expression darkened. "Mr. Morrison, I'm now placing you under arrest for suspicion of murder in the death of Sarah Morrison. You have the right to remain silent." As they cuffed Tyler, he kept trying to catch my eye. "Bertha, please, you have to believe me. I loved Sarah. I love you. I would never hurt either of you. Your parents are setting me up." "Then why didn't you tell me you were married before—" The question ripped from my throat. "Why hide it?" "Because I knew how it would look. She died 6 months after we got married. Her family blamed me, said I killed her for the insurance money. I couldn't go through that again. Couldn't have you look at me the way you're looking at me now." They led him to the police car, and I stood there watching the man I thought I knew disappear behind tinted windows. The hazmat team was still carefully transferring spiders to secure containers, each one a potential death sentence my parents had wrapped up with a bow. That's when I noticed the fake delivery driver's van still parked across the street. Except now the side door was open, and I could see surveillance equipment inside. Cameras, monitors, recording devices. "Detective," I called out. "That van, the delivery driver who wasn't really a delivery driver. Tyler said he hired security. Detective Chen followed my gaze and immediately dispatched officers. They surrounded the van, weapons drawn, but it was empty. Whoever had been watching us was gone. "We'll process it for evidence," she assured me. "Mrs. Morrison, I know this is overwhelming, but I need you to come to the station. We have a lot to sort through." As I gathered my purse and keys, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "The spiders were just the beginning. Your parents know more than you think, and so does Tyler. Trust no one. A friend." I showed it to Detective Chen, who immediately bagged my phone as evidence. "Someone's playing games," she said grimly, "but we're going to find out who and why." Sitting in the back of the detective's car, driving away from my contaminated home and shattered life, I realized my 32nd birthday would go down as the day everything I believed turned out to be a lie. My parents were apparently criminal masterminds. My husband might be a murderer, and someone was watching it all unfold like entertainment. The scratching sounds from that box echoed in my memory. Dozens of legs skittering against cardboard death, wrapped in birthday paper. My parents always did have a flair for the dramatic, but attempted murder seemed extreme even for them. Unless Tyler really had killed his first wife, unless I was next. The detective's car pulled into the station parking lot, and I saw two familiar figures sitting in the lobby through the glass doors. My parents. After 3 years of silence there, they were waiting for me. My mother's eyes met mine through the window, and she mouthed 2 words, "Trust us." But trust was a luxury I could no longer afford. Not when everyone I loved had been lying to me. Not when birthday gifts came with 8 legs and enough venom to stop a heart. The games were just beginning, and I was done being a pawn. The interrogation room at the police station felt like a medical facility, with its stark white walls and antiseptic smell. Through the 2-way mirror, I could see my parents in the adjacent room. My mother's usually perfect hair disheveled, my father's expensive suit wrinkled like he'd slept in it. They looked older, grayer, like the 3 years had aged them a decade. Detective Chen sat across from me, a thick file already materializing on the metal table between us. Behind her, a man in a CDC windbreaker took notes on a tablet, occasionally glancing at his phone as updates came in from the hazmat team. "Mrs. Morrison, the spiders have been identified and contained," the CDC officer, Dr. Matthews, began. 37 Brazilian wandering spiders, all female, all mature enough to deliver fatal bites. The species is called Phonutria, Greek for murderous. "Subtle," I muttered, wrapping my arms around myself. My parents always did like their symbolism. "There's more," Detective Chen said, opening the file. "This particular species was involved in a death 5 years ago. Sarah Morrison, age 28. Official cause of death, anaphylactic shock from spider venom." She slid a photograph across the table. A young woman with dark hair and kind eyes smiled back at me. Sarah, the first Mrs. Morrison, the woman whose bed I now slept in, whose husband I'd married, whose death might not have been accidental. "The coroner's report notes something unusual," Dr. Matthews added. "The bite pattern suggested the spider was placed deliberately. These spiders are aggressive, but they don't typically attack sleeping humans unless provoked or positioned to do so." "You're saying someone put a spider in bed with her?" That was the family's theory, but there was no evidence of spiders in the home, no way to prove it wasn't a freak accident. The case was closed. Detective Chen pulled out another document. "Your husband inherited $500,000 from Sarah's life insurance policy. He used it to start his software company, moved across the country, and legally changed his name from Marcus Webb to Tyler Morrison." The room tilted. "His name isn't Tyler Morrison. He took his deceased brother's first name and Sarah's maiden name. Said he wanted a fresh start after the tragedy." The detective's voice was carefully neutral. "He met you 18 months later." My hands trembled as I reached for the water cup she'd provided. Everything about my life was unraveling like a cheaply made sweater, one pull, and it all came apart. My parents knew about this. Your mother requisitioned the case files 2 years ago, right after your engagement. She spent considerable time and resources investigating your husband's background. What she found was troubling. The door opened and another officer entered, whispering urgently to Detective Chen. Her expression darkened. The tech team just finished processing your husband's laptop. Mrs. Morrison, were you aware he had a $2 million life insurance policy on you? The water cup slipped from my numb fingers, spilling across the table. $2 million. We have policies, but they're for $200,000 each, standard coverage. This one was taken out 6 months ago. You're listed as having a pre-existing heart condition that would make spider venom particularly fatal. I don't have a heart condition. According to the medical forms your husband submitted, you do. He's been playing a long game, Mrs. Morrison. Dr. Matthews pulled up something on his tablet. There's more. The search history on his computer shows extensive research into spider venom, particularly its interaction with certain medications. Has he ever given you any supplements or vitamins? My blood turned to ice water. He started giving me energy vitamins about 4 months ago, said I seemed tired all the time. We'll need to test those immediately. If he's been microdosing you with venom to build up markers in your system. He's been poisoning me. The words came out as a shriek, to make it look like I had a bad reaction when he finally, oh God, I think I'm going to be sick. Detective Chen quickly directed me to a trash can where I emptied my stomach, my body rejecting the very thought of what Tyler might have been doing to me. When I finished, she handed me tissues and more water. Your parents' package wasn't an attempted murder, she said quietly. It was evidence. They knew we'd have to investigate, that we'd test your blood, discover what he's been doing. They were trying to save your life. By sending deadly spiders, by forcing our involvement. They knew you wouldn't believe them, not after 3 years of estrangement, but you'd believe forensic evidence. A knock on the door interrupted us. An officer leaned in. The husband's lawyer is here. Also, the wife's parents are insisting on seeing her. Not yet, I said quickly. I need to understand everything first. What else did Tyler research? Detective Chen flipped through more papers. Methods of spider introduction, how to make bites look accidental, which species leave the least trace evidence. But here's the interesting part. He wasn't just researching for you. There are files on 3 other women, all deceased, all from spider bites or severe allergic reactions to insect venom. 3 others. My voice was barely a whisper. Julia Martinez in Phoenix 6 years ago, Emma Thompson in Seattle 7 years ago, Ashley Williams in Portland 9 years ago, all young women, all recently married, all with substantial life insurance policies. He's a serial killer. The words tasted like poison in my mouth. I married a serial killer. Alleged, Detective Chen corrected carefully, but the pattern is concerning. Your parents found 2 of these cases in their investigation. They hired a private investigator who uncovered the 3rd just last week. Dr. Matthews stood up. I need to coordinate with the lab about those vitamins. Mrs. Morrison, we're going to need blood samples, hair samples, and a full toxicology screening. The sooner we can prove what's in your system, the stronger the case against your husband. After he left, Detective Chen leaned forward, her expression softer. I know this is a lot to process, but you're safe now. He can't hurt you anymore. Can he? His lawyer's here? He'll probably make bail, and I have to go home to a house we shared, sleep in a bed, where he might have been slowly poisoning me, look at wedding photos knowing he might have killed 4 women before me. You don't have to go home. We can arrange protective custody, or perhaps your parents. My parents, who sent me a box of deadly spiders. Who risked federal charges to save your daughter's life, she corrected. They could have gone to the police directly, but they knew Tyler would have time to destroy evidence to finish what he started with you. This way, catching him off guard preserved everything we needed. The door burst open. A man in an expensive suit strode in like he owned the building. This interrogation ends now. My client's wife has no obligation to speak without her own attorney present. She's not being interrogated, counselor, Detective Chen replied coolly. She's a victim providing voluntary information about attempted murder. The lawyer, who I recognized as Patricia Caldwell from the news, turned her sharp gaze on me. "Mrs. Morrison, your husband is concerned about your welfare. He wants you to know he loves you, and this is all a terrible misunderstanding." A misunderstanding. I stood up, rage, finally burning through the shock. Which part? The secret first wife, the fake name, the $2 million insurance policy, the poisoned vitamins. Patricia didn't even blink. Allegations without proof. My client is a successful businessman who tragically lost his first wife and has now been targeted by his current in-laws in an elaborate frame-up. Every piece of so-called evidence has an innocent explanation. Even the search history about spider venom, research for a mystery novel he's been writing. I have drafts to prove it. The false medical records, a clerical error he was in the process of correcting. The 3 other dead women. That finally made her pause. "What other women?" Detective Chen smiled grimly. "Didn't your client mention his full history? How interesting." Patricia recovered quickly. "I'll need to see this supposed evidence. In the meantime, Mrs. Morrison, your husband wants you to know he's posted bail and will be staying at the Marriott downtown. He hopes you'll speak with him once you've calmed down." "If he comes near me, I'll kill him myself," I said flatly. "I'll pretend I didn't hear that threat," Patricia said, but something flickered in her eyes. Fear or calculation. "Detective, I expect full discovery within 24 hours. After she swept out, I sank back into the chair. "He's out already!" "White-collar crime first offense on record, strong community ties," Detective Chen said disgustedly. "But don't worry, we'll have officers watching him and you. He won't get close." "You don't understand. Tyler's brilliant. He fooled me for 3 years, created an entire fake identity, possibly killed 4 women, and made them all look like accidents. Officers watching won't stop him if he really wants to finish what he started." "Then what do you suggest?" I thought about the text from the unknown number. Someone else was involved in this. Someone who knew things. My parents had played their card with the spiders, but there were other players in this game. "I want to talk to my parents," I said finally. "But I want everything recorded, and I want immunity for them in exchange for their full cooperation. They know more than they've told you." Detective Chen studied me carefully. "You're thinking like a survivor. Good. I'll make the arrangements." As she left to set things up, I stared at Sarah Morrison's photograph again. 5 years ago, she'd probably sat in a room like this, except she'd been on a coroner's table instead of a chair. She'd trusted Tyler, loved him, shared his bed. And one night, something with 8 legs had crawled across her pillow, guided by her husband's hand. I wouldn't be Sarah. I wouldn't be victim number 5. If Tyler wanted to play games with spiders and poison, he'd learn that cornered prey could become the deadliest predator. My parents might have started this with a box of birthday spiders, but I would finish it. And unlike Tyler's other wives, I would survive to see him pay. The reunion with my parents happened in a conference room that felt more like a courtroom. They sat on one side of a polished table, I sat on the other, and between us lay 3 years of silence, thick enough to choke on. Detective Chen and the prosecutor, ADA James Wright, flanked me like bodyguards. My mother looked smaller than I remembered her prosecutor power suits, replaced by a simple blazer. My father's hands shook slightly as he reached for water. They both stared at me like I might disappear if they blinked. "Before we begin," Ada Wright said, "Mr. and Mrs. Hayes, you're being granted conditional immunity for the spider incident in exchange for full cooperation. Any withholding of information voids this agreement." "We understand," my mother said, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. "We'll tell you everything." "Start from the beginning," Detective Chen prompted. My father cleared his throat. "When Bertha announced her engagement, your mother ran a basic background check. She always did on anyone you dated seriously." "You ran background checks on my boyfriends," I interrupted. "Just the serious ones," my mother said defensively. "And good thing, too. Tyler Morrison didn't exist before 2019. "That's when he changed his name," I said flatly. But we didn't know that at first. We hired a private investigator, Paul Santos. He's former FBI, very thorough. What he found... She pulled out a thick folder from her bag. Your husband isn't just Marcus Webb. He's Marcus Webb, who was supposed to have died in a hiking accident with his brother Tyler in 2009. The room went silent. Even Detective Chen looked shocked. What I managed. 2 brothers went hiking in Montana. Only Marcus came back claiming Tyler fell off a cliff. The body was recovered badly decomposed. But Paul found inconsistencies in the dental records. He thinks Marcus killed Tyler and switched identities. That's insane, I breathed. Is it? My father pulled out photographs. This is Tyler Morrison's high school yearbook photo, and this is Marcus Webb from the same school 1 year apart. I stared at the pictures. My husband's face stared back from the Tyler photo. The Marcus photo showed a heavier, rougher-looking version with bad skin and mean eyes. Plastic surgery, my mother explained. We found the records. Marcus had extensive work done in Mexico in 2010, paid in cash. He came back looking exactly like his dead brother. Detective Chen was already on her phone barking orders about exhuming bodies and checking dental records. Ada Wright was scribbling notes frantically. There's more, my mother continued. The real Tyler Morrison had a trust fund worth $3 million that would mature when he turned 25. Marcus was deeply in debt, had a criminal record for assault and fraud. Tyler was the golden child, popular, successful, engaged to a wonderful girl. So he killed his brother and took over his life, I said numbly. We think so, but here's where it gets worse. Tyler's fiancée Rebecca Grant died in a car accident 6 months after Marcus returned from that hiking trip. Brake failure. Another photograph, another dead woman, another accident. Then there was Emma Thompson in Seattle, his girlfriend before Sarah. Allergic reaction to shellfish at a restaurant, except her friends swear she was fanatic about checking ingredients. Julia Martinez in Phoenix, stung by bark scorpions that somehow got into her apartment on the 20th floor. Ashley Williams in Portland, bitten by a brown recluse spider in her bed. Each name came with a photograph. Young women, all beautiful, all smiling, all dead. And after each death, Tyler Morrison moved to a new city, started fresh. Why didn't you go to the police immediately? Detective Chen demanded. With what? My father said bitterly. Suspicions, coincidences. Every death was ruled accidental. We had theories, but no proof. And Bertha wouldn't speak to us, wouldn't hear us out. We needed something concrete. So you sent deadly spiders, I said. We sent evidence, my mother corrected. Brazilian wandering spiders, the same species that killed Sarah. We knew the police would have to investigate, would test your blood, would find what he's been giving you. How did you know he was poisoning me? Your Instagram posts, my father said quietly. You mentioned being tired all the time, having headaches, feeling dizzy. Same symptoms Sarah's friends described in the months before she died. We knew his pattern. Ada Wright looked up from his notes. You realize this makes you accessories after the fact you knew about multiple murders and didn't report them. We tried. My mother's composure finally cracked. I went to the Phoenix PD, Seattle PD, Portland PD. They all said the same thing. No evidence of foul play. Marcus is careful. He studies his victims, finds their vulnerabilities, makes their deaths look natural. By the time I had enough pieces to see the pattern, Bertha was already married to him. So you spent 2 years building a case, Detective Chen said. Paul Santos never stopped investigating. He found witnesses who saw Marcus near Rebecca's car the night before her brakes failed. A pet store clerk who sold bark scorpions to someone matching his description. A waiter who saw him grinding tablets into Emma's food. But witness memories fade. Security footage gets deleted. We needed him to make a mistake. Enter the spiders, I said. I remember Sarah's case, my mother continued. The family insisted she was murdered, said someone placed that spider in her bed. They hired experts who testified that wandering spiders don't behave that way naturally. But without the actual spider or proof of purchase, it went nowhere. So you recreated the crime to expose it, Ada Wright said slowly. Brilliant, completely illegal, but brilliant. We were running out of time, my father said urgently. Paul intercepted communications showing Tyler was accelerating his timeline. The vitamins, the increased insurance, mysterious doctor visits Bertha didn't remember. He was maybe weeks away from striking. I thought about those vitamins Tyler so lovingly brought me each morning with breakfast. How he'd watch me swallow them, kiss my forehead, tell me he wanted me healthy for our future children. Bile rose in my throat again. There's something else, my mother said quietly. Something we discovered last week that made us desperate enough to send the spiders. Patricia Caldwell, his lawyer. She's not just any attorney, she's Marcus Webb's biological mother. The room exploded into chaos. Detective Chen was on the phone again. Ada Wright was demanding all files on Patricia Caldwell, and I sat frozen as another piece clicked into place. She gave him up for adoption when he was 2, my father explained over the noise. But they reconnected when he was 20. She's been cleaning up his messes ever since. Every time he moved cities, she handled the legal transitions. Every time questions arose about deaths, she shut them down. She's the reason he's never been caught. She knew, I whispered. His own mother knew he was killing women and helped him. We think she's more than complicit, my mother said. We think she helped plan some of them. She specializes in estate law insurance claims. She knows exactly how to structure policies to avoid scrutiny, how to create paper trails that support accidental death claims. My God, Ada Wright looked sick. We're not dealing with a serial killer. We're dealing with a murder team. A team that's operated successfully for 15 years, my mother confirmed, until they met my daughter, until they underestimated what parents will do to save their child. Detective Chen stood up. We need to get you somewhere safe, Mrs. Morrison. If Patricia Caldwell is involved, she has resources we haven't accounted for, and your husband just made bail through her firm. Where would I go? I asked desperately. He knows all my friends, my routines, my passwords. He's been studying me for 3 years just like those other women. There's nowhere I'd be safe. Yes, there is, my mother said firmly. Come home with us. We've turned our house into a fortress since this started. Security systems, panic rooms, the works. Let him try to get to you there. I looked at these people I'd cut from my life who'd spent years fighting a monster to save me even when I wouldn't speak to them. They'd risked prison, spent their savings, made themselves targets of a serial killer and his psychopath mother, all because they loved me. Okay, I said simply, let's go home. But even as we made plans for my protection, I couldn't stop thinking about Tyler out there in his hotel room, probably planning his next move. He'd killed at least 5 women, possibly more. He'd worn his dead brother's face for 15 years. He'd made me love him while slowly poisoning me. The spider in that birthday box hadn't been the real threat. The real threat had been sleeping beside me for 3 years, whispering loves and promises while calculating the best way to make my death look accidental. My parents had sent me killers in a box to warn me about the killer in my bed. And somewhere in the city, Tyler Morrison, Marcus Webb, whoever he really was, sat planning his next move in a game where women's lives were just insurance payouts waiting to be collected. But this time was different. This time his victim knew the truth. This time he'd picked the wrong family to mess with. The hunt was on and I refused to be prey. The drive to my parents' house took us through neighborhoods I'd avoided for 3 years. Every street corner held a memory of the life I'd walked away from, convinced I was choosing love over control. Now sitting in the back of an unmarked police car with Detective Chen, I realized I'd chosen a predator over protection. My childhood home looked different, transformed into what my father hadn't exaggerated in calling a fortress. New security cameras covered every angle. Motion sensor lights blazed to life as we approached, and I noticed the subtle reinforcement of doors and windows. They'd been preparing for war while I played house with a killer. Inside, my mother led us to what used to be my father's study, now converted into some kind of investigation command center. Walls covered in photographs, timelines, maps with red pins marking deaths. 3 years of obsessive research laid out like evidence in a courtroom. Paul Santos works from here twice a week, my mother explained, gesturing to the elaborate setup. We knew we'd need everything organized when the time came to act. Detective Chen studied the boards with professional interest. This is more thorough than some federal investigations I've seen. We had motivation they didn't, my father said simply. I gravitated toward a section labeled with my name, seeing my life documented in painful detail. Restaurant receipts, doctor visits, social media posts, analyzed for signs of poisoning. They'd been watching me as carefully as Tyler had, trying to protect what he was trying to destroy. Mrs. Morrison, we need to discuss something, Detective Chen said, pulling out her tablet. The lab results from your blood test came back. You need to see this. The numbers on the screen meant nothing to me until she explained. These are trace amounts of various spider venoms in your system. Not enough to kill, but enough to build up over time. But that's not the concerning part. These markers here, they indicate you've also been exposed to ricin. Ricin. My legs gave out and I sank into a chair. The poison from Breaking Bad, ricin, in microscopic doses. Combined with the spider venom, it would create symptoms that mimic a severe allergic reaction. Any emergency room would treat it as anaphylaxis, not poisoning. By the time they realized the truth, if they ever did, it would be too late. My mother made a sound like a wounded animal. How long has this been going on? Based on the accumulation levels, approximately 4 months. 4 months, spring. When Tyler had started bringing me breakfast in bed every morning, those special vitamins mixed into smoothies he made with such care. When he'd been so attentive, so loving, making sure I took care of myself. He was documenting it too. Detective Chen continued pulling up files from Tyler's computer. He has a spreadsheet tracking your symptoms, adjusting doses based on your reactions. Look at this entry from last month, B, showing increased fatigue. Reduce ricin by 10% to extend timeline. Need her coherent for anniversary party next week. I ran to the bathroom and was violently sick again. My own husband had been calculating my death like a science experiment, adjusting his poisoning schedule around social events. When I'd felt too tired for date night, he'd commiserated and suggested we stay in. When I'd rallied for our anniversary party, he'd taken credit for the vitamins helping. Paul Santos arrived while I was still composing myself, a gray-haired man with sharp eyes and a grim expression. He carried boxes of additional evidence, his latest findings. I've been tracking the money, he announced without preamble. Every death, there's a pattern. The insurance payouts go to Tyler, but then large sums transfer to offshore accounts, controlled by Patricia Caldwell. She takes 40% of every kill. 40% ADA Wright had arrived for the evidence review. She's taking commission on murder. Like a talent agent, Paul said disgustedly. But I found something else. 3 days ago, Patricia made a large withdrawal from one of those accounts. $500,000 in cash. That kind of money means she's either running or funding something big. Could she be planning to get Tyler out of the country? Detective Chen asked. Possibly, or... Paul hesitated. There's another option. I've been investigating Patricia's past, too. Her son Marcus wasn't her only child. She had a daughter 2 years before him, gave her up for adoption, too. That daughter would be 47 now. And my father prompted. And she works at the FDA in the division that handles exotic animal import permits, including the permit for those Brazilian wandering spiders. The room went silent as the implications sank in. Patricia Caldwell didn't just have one murderous child. She potentially had a whole network. The spiders my parents sent, I said slowly. How did they even get them? My mother and father exchanged glances. We had help. Someone who said they wanted Tyler stopped as badly as we did. They provided the spiders and the documentation to make them look legal. Someone set you up, Detective Chen said flatly. They used you to deliver evidence, yes, but also to implicate yourselves. If this goes badly, you take the fall for attempted murder, while the real conspirators walk free. The delivery driver, I said suddenly. The fake one who was watching our house. Tyler said he hired him, but what if he didn't? What if Patricia hired him to monitor the situation? Paul was already pulling up traffic cameras from our neighborhood. Give me 10 minutes. While he worked, I studied the timeline on the wall. All those women, all those deaths spanning 15 years. But something bothered me about the pattern. There's acceleration, I said, pointing to the dates. The first death, the real Tyler, was 15 years ago, then nothing for 3 years. Rebecca Grant, 12 years ago, 2-year gap. Emma Thompson, 10 years ago, 18-month gap. The intervals keep getting shorter. Like he needs it more frequently, Detective Chen observed, or he's getting greedier. Or someone's pushing him to produce more, Ada Wright suggested. If Patricia's taking 40% and has expensive tastes... Got him, Paul announced, throwing images on a laptop screen. The delivery van is registered to a shell company owned by, surprise, surprise, Caldwell Enterprises. But look who's driving. The enhanced photo showed a woman in her late 40s with Patricia's sharp features and cold eyes. The sister, my mother breathed. She's real. Her name is Diana Vance, Paul said, fingers flying over his keyboard. And here's where it gets interesting. She was married to Robert Vance, who died 8 years ago from, wait for it, anaphylactic shock from a bee sting. She's killed too, I said numbly. It's a family business. $3 million insurance payout, Paul confirmed, which she used to buy her way into a government position where she could facilitate her mother's import needs. They're all connected. My phone, now monitored by police techs, suddenly buzzed with a text from Tyler's number. Baby, please talk to me. I'm scared and confused. Your parents are lying about everything. I can prove it. Meet me and I'll show you evidence that they're the real killers. I love you. He's trying to flip the narrative, Detective Chen said. Classic manipulation. Another text. Check your email. I sent you proof about your parents. They killed my Sarah to frame me. They've killed others. You're not safe with them. Despite every warning, I opened the email. It contained documents that looked official papers suggesting my parents had connections to organized crime, that my mother had prosecuted rivals to protect their interests, that the furniture import business was a front for smuggling. Sophisticated forgeries, my mother said, looking over my shoulder, but forgeries nonetheless. I prosecuted those crime families, not protected them. He's desperate, Paul observed. This kind of sloppy frame job isn't his usual style. He's improvising. That's when Ada Wright's phone rang. He answered, his face growing increasingly pale. Yes, Your Honor. I understand. Yes, they'll be there. He hung up and looked at us grimly. Patricia Caldwell just got an emergency hearing scheduled for tomorrow morning. She's filing for a restraining order against Mr. and Mrs. Hayes on Tyler's behalf, claiming harassment and attempted murder. She's also moving to have all evidence obtained from the spider incident thrown out as fruit of the poisonous tree. She can't do that, I protested. She's Patricia Caldwell, he said bitterly. She owns half the judges in this state through campaign contributions. She's also filed a civil suit against your parents for emotional distress defamation and attempted murder. She's asking for $50 million. $50 million. My father looked sick. We don't have that kind of money. She knows that. She wants to bankrupt you, destroy your credibility, make you look like crazy vindictive parents who tried to kill their son-in-law out of spite. By the time she's done spinning, this Tyler will look like the victim. I stood up, rage burning through the fear. No, absolutely not. He's poisoned me for months, killed multiple women, stolen his brother's identity. He doesn't get to play victim. Then we need more evidence, Detective Chen said. Something Patricia can't spin or suppress. Mrs. Morrison think. In 3 years of marriage, there must have been something. Some mistake, he made some glimpse of who he really was. I closed my eyes, trying to sort through memories that all felt tainted now. Every loving moment contaminated by the knowledge of what he really was. And then... The storage unit, I said suddenly. Tyler has a storage unit he thinks I don't know about. He goes there sometimes when he thinks I'm asleep. Says he's going to the 24-hour gym, but I followed him once. Unit 417 at Secure Store on Colfax. Paul was already grabbing his keys. I'll get a warrant. I'm coming with you, Detective Chen said. We all are, I added. Whatever's in there, I need to see it. 2 hours later, we stood before Unit 417 with a warrant and bolt cutters. My hands shook as Detective Chen cut the lock, but nothing could have prepared me for what lay inside. Trophies. That's the only word for them. Driver's licenses, jewelry, photographs, items taken from each victim. Sarah's engagement ring, Emma's passport, Rebecca's diary, and in the back, in a climate-controlled case, specimen jars. Each jar contained a preserved spider. Each was labeled with a woman's name and date, including one that made my blood freeze. Bertha Morrison, November 15, 2025. 3 days from now. He'd already prepared my memorial, already chosen my killer, already written my death date like an appointment in his calendar. But there was one more jar, one more label that changed everything. Patricia Caldwell, December 1st, 2025. Tyler wasn't just planning to kill me. He was planning to kill his own mother. The student had decided to surpass the teacher. And somewhere in Denver, 3 killers circled each other in a deadly dance, each thinking they were the smartest predator in the room. But they'd forgotten one thing. Prey that knows it's being hunted can become the most dangerous animal of all. The revelation in the storage unit sent shockwaves through the investigation. Tyler planned to kill his own mother. The woman who'd protected him facilitated his murders, shared in his profits. Patricia Caldwell, the puppet master, had become the next puppet to be cut. Back at my parents' house, we spread the evidence across the dining room table like a macabre jigsaw puzzle. Each piece told part of a story I was still struggling to comprehend. Detective Chen had called in federal agents, and the house buzzed with activity. The Patricia jar changes everything, Ada Wright said, staring at the labeled specimen. If we can prove she knows about this threat, she might flip on him to save herself. A woman who helped her son kill multiple people isn't going to develop a conscience now, my mother argued. She'll see this as betrayal and double down on protecting him while planning her own counterstrike. Paul Santos pulled up financial records on his laptop. Look at this. 2 weeks ago, Tyler opened a new insurance policy on Patricia. $5 million with himself as sole beneficiary. She co-signed it. She co-signed her own death warrant, I asked incredulously. The paperwork lists it as estate planning, standard procedure for business partners. She probably didn't read the fine print about accidental death clauses. My phone buzzed. Another text from Tyler. I know you found the storage unit. Those aren't trophies, they're evidence I collected to protect myself. Mom's gotten greedy, threatening to expose me if I don't pay more. I was gathering proof of her involvement. Please, baby, I need your help. She's the real monster here. He's trying to recruit you, Detective Chen observed. Turn you against Patricia before we can approach her. Another text. Check your front door. I left something for you. Proof that everything I'm saying is true. I'm risking everything to save us both from her. The security cameras showed a package on the doorstep, left by someone in a hood who'd avoided showing their face. The bomb squad was called, but X-rays revealed only papers inside. When they cleared it, I opened the package with gloved hands. Inside were documents that made my stomach turn. Photos of Patricia meeting with various people, bank records showing her payments, and most damning email exchanges where she discussed removing obstacles and collecting on investments. He's documenting his mother's crimes while planning to kill her, Paul said, scanning the emails. This is legitimate evidence. He's gift-wrapping her prosecution while setting up her murder. Or she planted this to frame him, my father suggested. We can't trust anything from either of them. But buried in the stack was something that made me gasp. A photo of myself from 2 weeks ago taken at my yoga class. I was in child's pose, vulnerable and unaware. Written on the back in Tyler's handwriting, injection site options, lower back optimal. She'll think it's muscle pain. He was planning to inject me during yoga. My voice cracked. While I was relaxing, trusting completely defenseless, Detective Chen immediately dispatched units to the yoga studio to retrieve security footage. This photo proves premeditation and planning. It's exactly what we need. There's more, Paul said, studying the metadata. This was taken with a phone registered to Diana Vance. The sister was stalking you for him. The web kept getting more tangled. 3 killers, all related, all watching me, all planning deaths, while suspecting each other. It was like being trapped in a spider's web where every strand led to another predator. My father's phone rang. He answered, his face growing grim. That was building security from my office. Someone broke in tonight. They're reviewing footage now. What could they want from a furniture import office? Detective Chen asked. The real business records, my mother said quietly. We kept backup files there of everything we found on Tyler in case something happened to us. If Patricia knows we've been investigating, she's covering tracks, Paul finished, or looking for leverage. 30 minutes later, security footage revealed the truth. Diana Vance, bold as brass, walking into my father's office using a cloned keycard. She spent an hour photographing documents before leaving with several boxes of files. Those files contained witness statements. My mother said, panicking. People who agreed to testify about seeing Tyler near victims. She knows who to threaten now. Or who to kill, I said flatly. The federal agents were mobilizing protection for the witnesses when my phone rang from an unknown number. Against everyone's advice, I answered on speaker. Hello, Bertha. The voice was cultured cold, unmistakably Patricia Caldwell. I believe it's time we talked woman to woman. Your son tried to kill me, I said. My son is a disappointment who let emotion cloud judgment. You were supposed to be a simple transaction. Instead, he fell into the trap of actually caring for you. It made him sloppy. Caring, he's been poisoning me for months. Only after I insisted. Left to his own devices, he would have let you live. Love makes men weak. It's why I've never allowed it to interfere with business. Business, you mean murder. She laughed a sound like ice cracking. I mean survival. Do you know what it's like to be a teenage mother with no resources? To watch the system that's supposed to protect you instead grind you into dust. I learned early that the only way to win is to make your own rules. So you turned your children into killers. I gave them the tools to never be victims. Marcus was always eager to please, desperate for mommy's approval. Diana had the stomach for it but lacked finesse. Together, they could have built an empire. An empire of dead women. Weak women. Women who trusted too easily, who didn't protect themselves, who believed in fairy tales. You would have been different, Bertha. I saw it in your eyes at the wedding. The survivor's instinct. It's why I told Marcus to abort the plan. But he didn't listen. No. He saw dollar signs and convinced himself he could have both the money and the wife. Greed and sentiment, a fatal combination. And now look where we are. Police involvement, federal investigation, all because he couldn't just stick to the plan. Why are you telling me this? Because I have a proposition. You want to live, I want to retire comfortably without looking over my shoulder. We can help each other. You want me to help you. I want you to survive. In exactly 3 days, Marcus will attempt to kill you using a Brazilian wandering spider just like Sarah. He's predictable that way, fond of his patterns. But you'll be ready. You'll catch him in the act, defend yourself, and tragically, he won't survive the encounter. You're asking me to kill your son. I'm offering you the chance to live. Marcus has become a liability. His sloppiness threatens everything Diana and I have built. Your parents' interference has accelerated the timeline. Either he dies or we all go down. And if I refuse, then you die on schedule. I collect my 40% and disappear before the authorities connect all the dots. Diana will ensure your parents meet unfortunate accidents and life goes on. Except yours, of course. My hands trembled with rage. You're insane. I'm practical. You have 48 hours to decide. My number's now in your phone. Oh, and Bertha. Don't bother tracing this call. I'm already gone. The line went dead. Everyone in the room stared at me in stunned silence. She just confessed to everything, Detective Chen said finally. We recorded all of it. Did we? Paul was checking his equipment, frowning. The recording's corrupted, just static. She used a signal jammer, one of the federal agents said. Military grade, we've got nothing. So it's my word against hers, I said. A grieving mother whose son was driven to madness by vindictive in-laws. Ada Wright said disgustedly. She's already spinning it. But I was thinking about Patricia's offer. She wanted me to kill Tyler in self-defense, make her problem go away while keeping her hands clean. The spider matriarch sending others to do her killing as always. What if we give her what she wants? I said slowly, or make her think we are... Absolutely not, my mother said. We're not killers. No, but they think we are. They sent us those doctored documents trying to frame us. What if we play along? What if I agree to Patricia's plan, get her to incriminate herself further? It's too dangerous, Detective Chen argued. Everything's dangerous now. 3 killers are circling me, each with their own agenda. The only way to survive is to make them attack each other instead of me. Set them against each other, Paul mused. It could work. Tyler already suspects Patricia's planning something. Patricia wants Tyler dead. Diana's playing all sides. And in 3 days, it all comes to a head, I added. November 15th, my scheduled death date. Detective Chen made the call to her supervisors. After an hour of heated debate, they agreed. I would contact Patricia, pretend to accept her offer, and try to get actionable evidence. Meanwhile, they'd use Tyler's paranoia about his mother to push him into revealing more. But as I stared at Patricia's number in my phone, I wondered if I was clever enough to outmaneuver 3 people who'd been killing successfully for years. They were apex predators who'd turned murder into a family business. Then I looked at my parents who'd risked everything to save me, at the investigators who'd worked tirelessly to find justice for dead women, at my own hands steady now with purpose instead of fear. Patricia was wrong about one thing. I wasn't a survivor because I was like them. I was a survivor because I was surrounded by people who loved me enough to fight monsters on my behalf. The spider matriarch had made her offer. Time to spin a web of my own. My fingers moved across the phone screen, typing a simple message, "I'm listening." The response came within seconds. "Smart girl, Diana will contact you with instructions. Remember, 3 days, don't disappoint me. 3 days to trap 3 killers. 3 days to stay alive. 3 days to end a legacy of murder that had claimed too many women already." The countdown had begun, and I refused to be victim number 6. Or was it 7, 8? How many women had really died in this family's web? I guess I had 3 days to find out. The meeting with Diana Vance was set for a coffee shop in downtown Denver, public enough to feel safe but private enough for conspiracy. I wore a wire despite her instructions not to hidden in a place the FBI's female tech specialist assured me would be undetectable. My parents wanted to come, but Detective Chen insisted on a professional operation. "We'll have undercover agents at 6 tables, she assured me. "Snipers on the surrounding roofs. If she makes one wrong move, we'll take her down." But when I walked into the coffee shop at exactly 2 in the afternoon, my blood froze. Tyler sat at a corner table, casually sipping a latte like he hadn't been plotting my murder. Every agent in the place tensed hands, moving toward concealed weapons. "Hello, darling," he said, standing as I approached. "Please sit, we need to talk." "Where's Diana?" "My dear aunt is running late. She thought we should clear the air first." His smile was the same one that had charmed me 3 years ago, but now I saw the calculation behind it. "You look tired. Have you been taking your vitamins?" "The ones laced with poison, I'll pass." He had the audacity to look hurt. "Bertha, I know what the police told you, but they're wrong. Those vitamins were to protect you from what my mother was planning. She's been poisoning you, not me." "Really? Then why did I find a jar with my name on it in your storage unit?" "Because I was investigating her murders, gathering evidence. That spider was meant to frame her when she inevitably tried to kill you. I've been playing a long game to save us both." The lies flowed so smoothly, I almost admired the performance. 3 years of marriage, and I was finally seeing the real Tyler Morrison, or Marcus Webb, or whoever he was beneath all the stolen identities. "Tell me about your brother," I said suddenly. "The real Tyler." His eye twitched the first crack in his mask. "What about him? Did he see it coming? When you pushed him off that cliff, did he know his own brother was killing him?" "It was an accident," but his knuckles whitened around his coffee cup. "Ty slipped. I tried to save him." "Then why steal his identity? Why become him?" "Because Marcus Webb was nothing." The words exploded out of him before he caught himself. Several patrons looked our way. He forced his voice back to calm. "Marcus was a failure, a disappointment, a nobody going nowhere. Tyler had everything: trust fund, looks, potential. When he died, I saw an opportunity to become who I was meant to be." "So you murdered him." "I evolved, just like I've been helping you evolve. You were so meek when we met, so desperate for approval. I've made you stronger. By poisoning me, by showing you what you're capable of surviving. Look at you now, working with the FBI, playing games with my mother. You're magnificent." The twisted pride in his voice made my skin crawl. In his warped mind, he'd been doing me a favor, training me, creating his perfect victim, or maybe his perfect partner. "Your mother wants you dead," I told him bluntly. "I found the insurance policy you took out on her. She knows." His facade cracked completely. "That bitch knows how. She's Patricia Caldwell. You think she got where she is by trusting anyone, even her own son, especially her own son who's already killed his brother." "She made me what I am," he snarled. "Every death, every plan, every evolution came from her lessons. Never leave witnesses, Marcus. Always have insurance, Marcus. Love is weakness, Marcus. Well, guess what? The student surpassed the teacher. And now she wants to put the rabid dog down." His hand shot across the table, grabbing my wrist. 2 agents started to rise, but I subtly waved them off. "We could run," he said urgently. "Right now. Leave everything behind. I have money, hidden away identities she doesn't know about. We could start fresh. Like you did with Sarah, with Emma, with all the others. They were practice. You're the real thing. The one I actually fell for against all my training." His grip tightened painfully. "Do you know how terrifying it was to realize I loved you, that I was breaking the cardinal rule Mother always said love would get me killed, and she was right, because I can't bring myself to finish what I started with you. But you still poisoned me. Small doses, enough to satisfy Mother's progress reports. I've been diluting them for weeks, trying to buy time to figure out a solution. Why do you think you're still alive?" The revelation hit like cold water. He was admitting to poisoning me, but claiming he'd been holding back. In his twisted logic, this was love. This was mercy. "There is a solution," I said carefully. "Your mother offered me one. I kill you in self-defense when you come for me with the spider. She gets rid of a liability, I get to live." His face went through several expressions: surprise, rage, and then something like admiration. She always was a strategic thinker. Let me guess, Diana's supposed to coordinate it all. She's 40 minutes late. Because she's probably ransacking my apartment right now, looking for the evidence I have on both of them. He laughed bitterly. "We're all turning on each other. The family business is eating itself." "Then help me stop it, turn state's evidence, put them all away." "And spend life in prison? I don't think so." He leaned back, studying me with those calculating eyes. "But I'll make you a better offer than Mother's. Help me kill her first. Make it look like she came after you and you defended yourself. I'll disappear forever and you get to live." "Why would I trust you?" "Because unlike her, I actually care if you survive." He pulled out his phone, showing me a message thread with Diana. "Look, she's been pushing me to accelerate your timeline. Stop being sentimental, Marcus. Finish the job." But I keep stalling. The messages looked real, but I'd learned not to trust anything from this family. They could probably forge documents in their sleep. Counter offer, I said. You all turn on each other publicly, confess everything, take responsibility for every woman you've killed, give their families closure. He laughed, a sound devoid of humor. You really have evolved, negotiating with killers like you're one of us. I'm nothing like you. No, you're sitting here calmly discussing murder plots. You're wearing a wire, probably armed agents all around us. You're playing all sides just like we do. Face it, darling. We've trained you well. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. His face paled as he read the message. Diana's not coming, he said. Mother's called a family meeting. Seems she knows about our chat. How could she know? He was already standing, tossing money on the table. Because she owns this coffee shop, has for years, cameras everywhere. He leaned down, whispering in my ear. The offer stands. Her or me. Choose wisely. You have until tomorrow night. Then he was gone, walking out like he didn't have federal agents tracking his every move. I sat there shaking as Detective Chen's voice crackled through my earpiece. We got it all. He confessed to multiple murders. We can arrest him now. No, I said quietly. Not yet. Let them have their family meeting. Let them plot against each other. We need them all, not just Tyler. It's too dangerous. Everything about this is dangerous, but they're rattled now, making mistakes. Patricia knows Tyler wants her dead. Tyler knows she wants him dead. Diana's playing both sides. They're going to implode. And you'll be ground zero when they do. I stood up, noticing a small envelope on Tyler's chair. Inside was a key and an address. Below that, in his handwriting, if you want the truth about all of them, go here. Alone. T. Ma'am. An undercover agent appeared at my elbow. We should go. I pocketed the key without showing anyone. Tyler had left me breadcrumbs to follow, probably another trap. But maybe it was the evidence we needed to end this nightmare. Outside, Denver's afternoon sun felt like a spotlight exposing me to any of the 3 predators circling my life. Patricia pulling strings from her legal fortress. Diana hunting witnesses with government resources. Tyler playing wounded lover while planning his next move. The Spider family was turning on itself just as I'd hoped, but I was still caught in the center of their web, and tomorrow night one of them would make their move. The question was, would I be ready with a counter move of my own? As we drove back to my parents' house, I fingered the key in my pocket. Whatever Tyler wanted me to find, whatever game he was playing, I'd have to be smarter than all of them. Because in this family, there were no winners, only survivors and bodies. And I refused to be just another jar in someone's collection. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about Tyler's key. It burned in my pocket like a guilty secret while my parents, Detective Chen, and the FBI agents planned tomorrow's operation. They were so focused on the meeting, the wires, the backup plans, that no one noticed when I slipped away to my old room. Everything was exactly as I'd left it 3 years ago. Teenage posters, college textbooks, and in the back of my closet, the box I'd been looking for. My journal from when Tyler and I first started dating. I opened it with trembling hands, expecting to find the giddy entries of a woman in love. Instead, I found something that made my blood run cold. The first few entries were normal, describing our early dates, how charming Tyler was, how different from other men I dated. But then about 3 months in, the tone changed dramatically. May 15th. Something's wrong with T, found inconsistencies in his stories. His college roommate doesn't exist. Called Northwestern, no record of him graduating. Why would he lie? May 17th, hired private investigator. Feel crazy doing this, but need to know truth. It's been asking about my savings life insurance from grandma. Red flags everywhere. May 20th, PI found something horrible. Its real name might be Marcus Webb. Previous girlfriend died mysteriously. Can't process this. Meeting T tonight to confront him. The next entry was dated 3 weeks later in handwriting that looked shakier, less certain. June 10th. Had the strangest dream about hiring a detective. So vivid, T says I've been stressed about work imagining things. He's been so patient with my anxiety. Lucky to have him. The entries after that returned to normal, gushing about Tyler's romantic gestures, our deepening relationship. But scattered throughout were oddities I'd never noticed before. References to headaches after dinner dates, feeling unusually tired after wine at his place. Gaps in memory I'd attributed to busy schedules. Oh, God, I whispered, pieces clicking into place. I'd investigated him. I'd discovered the truth. And then I'd mysteriously forgotten everything right after confronting him. With shaking hands, I searched deeper in the closet and found what I dreaded. A folder hidden inside an old textbook. The private investigator's report dated 3 years ago. Photos of Marcus Webb. Details about Emma Thompson's death. A business card for Detective Sarah Chen, the same detective working my case now. I'd contacted the police 3 years ago. I'd tried to turn Tyler in, and somehow I'd forgotten everything. Racing back downstairs, I burst into the planning session. He drugged me before 3 years ago I found out who he was, and he made me forget. Everyone turned to stare as I frantically explained, showing them the journal, the PI report. Detective Chen went pale as she recognized her own business card. I remember now, she said slowly. You called me. Said your boyfriend was using a false identity. But when I followed up, you insisted it was a misunderstanding, that you'd been confused. You seemed so certain, so embarrassed about wasting police time. Rohypnol can cause selective amnesia, one of the FBI agents said. Combined with gaslighting, he could have rewritten your memories of that entire period. Paul Santos was already digging into his files. Your investigator David Park died in a car accident June 1st of that year. Single vehicle drove off a cliff, just like Tyler's brother. Another murder. Another person who'd tried to expose Tyler erased from existence. How many others had there been? How many people had gotten close to the truth only to disappear or forget? The key, Detective Chen said urgently. The one Tyler gave you. It might be connected to this. I pulled it out reluctantly, knowing I should have mentioned it earlier. The address was for a storage facility across town, different from the one where we'd found the spider collection. It's a trap, my mother said immediately. He's trying to separate you from protection. Or he's genuinely trying to show me something, I argued. He seemed different today, almost desperate for me to understand something. Killers are excellent manipulators, my father reminded me. Don't fall for it again. But I couldn't shake the feeling that this was important. Tyler had risked meeting me in a public place, knowing he was under surveillance. He'd given me this key, knowing I'd be surrounded by FBI agents. Why? We'll send a team to check it out, Detective Chen decided. No, I said firmly. He said alone. If he's watching and sees FBI agents, we'll lose whatever evidence is there. Absolutely not. Then I'll go with minimal backup. One agent staying outside. I need to know what's in that unit. After an hour of argument, they agreed to a compromise. I would go with Paul Santos, who wasn't law enforcement, and might not trigger Tyler's paranoia. FBI agents would maintain a perimeter, but stay invisible. At midnight, we arrived at the storage facility. Unit 777 was in the basement level, isolated from the others. The key turned easily, and the door rolled up to reveal not weapons or trophies, but filing cabinets. Dozens of them. Each was labeled with a year, starting from 2005. Patricia Caldwell's first year of practice. Inside were meticulous records of every crime, every cover-up, every bribe and threat. Not just the murders, but the network that enabled them. Judges paid off, cops blackmailed, witnesses disappeared. This is his insurance policy, Paul breathed. He's been documenting everything. In the most recent cabinet, we found files on me. Not just the poisoning schedule, but recordings. Hours of audio from hidden microphones in our house, including one that made me sink to the floor. It was from last week, Tyler on the phone with someone. No, Mother, I won't increase the dose. Because I've decided I want her to live. I don't care about the money anymore. Yes, I know what you do to disappointments. Then I guess we're at an impasse. Fine, you want to play hardball. Check your email. I just sent you a preview of what I'll release if anything happens to Bertha or me. That's right, everything, going back 20 years. You created me, Patricia, but you didn't create my survival instinct. Paul grabbed another recording, this one from yesterday. Patricia's voice cold and furious. You ungrateful little bastard. After everything I've done for you, Diana was right, you've gone soft. Maybe I have, Tyler replied. Or maybe I'm just tired of being your weapon. You want Bertha dead so badly, do it yourself. Oh wait, you can't. You need us to do your dirty work while you keep your manicured hands clean. You have until tomorrow night to finish the job or I'll activate the contingency. What contingency? Did you really think you were my only asset, Marcus? I've been grooming others. One of them is very eager to prove themselves by eliminating both you and your wife. The recording cut off. Paul and I exchanged horrified looks. There's a fourth killer, I whispered. Someone we don't know about. We grabbed as many files as we could carry and fled back to the car. As we drove away, I spotted a figure on a nearby rooftop. Just a silhouette, but they were definitely watching. Not one of our agents, the positioning was wrong. Drive faster, I urged Paul. Back at the house, the new revelation sent everyone into overdrive. A fourth killer, unknown and eager to prove themselves. The recordings confirmed Tyler was trying to protect me in his twisted way, but they also revealed a deeper network of corruption than anyone had imagined. Patricia's been running a murder academy, Detective Chen said, reviewing the files. Training killers, placing them strategically, building a criminal empire. And now the empire is eating itself, Ada Wright added. Tyler's betrayal has triggered a succession crisis. My phone buzzed, unknown number. Against all advice, I answered. Hello, Bertha. Not Patricia, not Tyler, not Diana. A young woman's voice, sweet and cheerful. You don't know me yet, but we'll be meeting soon. Patricia sends her regards and wants you to know the timeline has been moved up. See you tonight instead of tomorrow. Sweet dreams. The line went dead. The fourth killer had just announced themselves. We need to move you immediately, Detective Chen said. But I was staring at the files we'd brought back at the photos of all those dead women. They'd all run. They'd all hidden. They'd all waited for death to find them. No, I said quietly. No more running. No more letting them set the terms. They want to come for me tonight, let them. But this time the prey knows the predators are coming. This time, we'll be ready. You can't seriously... I found out the truth about Tyler 3 years ago and he stole that knowledge from me. Turned me into his accomplice through ignorance. Made me love a lie. Well, I remember now. I remember all of it. And I'm done being anyone's victim. I looked at the assembled team, my parents, the agents, the people who'd fought so hard to protect me. Tonight we end this, all of it. The whole poisonous family tree gets cut down. The fourth killer thought they were hunting easy prey. They were about to learn what Bertha Morrison was truly capable of when she remembered who she really was. Not a victim, not a pawn, not another jar in someone's collection. A survivor, and survivors fight back. The call came at 3 a.m. I was wide awake, sitting in my childhood bedroom surrounded by FBI agents when Tyler's number lit up my phone screen. This time when I answered, his voice was different, ragged, desperate. She killed Diana, he said without preamble. My aunt is dead. Patricia's cleaning house and you're next. Where are you? Detective Chen mouthed to keep him talking while they traced the call. Diana's apartment. There's so much blood. God, Bertha, she used the spiders. The same Brazilian wanderers meant for you, her own daughter. I could hear his breathing harsh and panicked. The composed killer I'd married was falling apart. You need to get out of there, I said. Why? So Patricia's new protege can hunt me down. I know about the fourth killer. Sweet little Amy Chen. She was Patricia's legal intern, can you believe it? 23 years old and already has 2 bodies to her credit. Detective Chen's face went white. Amy Chen is Judge Chen's daughter. She's been interning at Caldwell's firm for 2 years. Patricia's greatest creation, Tyler continued. Recruited her right out of law school, smart, beautiful, completely sociopathic. Makes me look like an amateur. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm done. Done being Patricia's puppet, done with the killing, done with all of it. But before I go, I'm taking her down. Check your email. My phone pinged. Attachments started flooding in. Financial records, murder plans, correspondence going back decades. But one file made everyone in the room gasp. Is that, my mother started. Patricia's confession, Tyler confirmed. Recorded without her knowledge over the past 5 years. Every murder she ordered, every body she helped hide, every official she corrupted, including how she killed my real parents. What, I nearly dropped the phone. Oh, she didn't tell you that part. Patricia Caldwell isn't my biological mother. She's my aunt. She killed my parents when I was 7, made it look like a home invasion. Then she swooped in as the grieving sister to take custody of poor orphaned Marcus. The room erupted in chaos, but I stayed focused on Tyler's voice. She'd been planning it for years. My father was her brother, but he had the family money. Patricia wanted it. So she trained me from childhood to be her weapon, all while playing the devoted aunt. The truth only came out when I found my father's real will hidden in that storage unit. He'd suspected her left everything in trust for me, with instructions to investigate if anything happened to them. Tyler, you need to come in. We can protect you. He laughed bitterly. From Patricia, from Amy, from the network of killers she's built. No, darling, there's only one way this ends. I'm going to Patricia's house now. By the time you get there, it'll be over, one way or another. Don't do this. We have enough evidence now. Evidence she'll twist or suppress. You don't understand how deep this goes. Half the judicial system is in her pocket. The other half is terrified of her. No, this ends the old-fashioned way. The student facing the master. Tyler, please. I did love you, he said quietly. In whatever twisted way I'm capable of love. That's why I could never go through with killing you. It made Patricia furious. Said I was weak like my father. Maybe she was right. You're not going to survive this. Probably not, but neither is she, and you'll be free. That's all that matters now. There has to be another way. Tell my brother I'm sorry. The real Tyler. He deserved better than a monster for a brother. They all did. Sarah, Emma, all of them. I can't undo what I've done, but I can stop it from happening again. The line went dead. Detective Chen was already mobilizing units to both Diana's apartment and Patricia's house. The FBI agents were suiting up, preparing for war. But I was staring at one particular file Tyler had sent. It was labeled The Beginning, and it contained something that changed everything. We've been wrong about the timeline, I said, my voice cutting through the chaos. Patricia didn't start killing 15 years ago. According to this, she's been doing it for 30 years. Everyone stopped to look at me. Her first victim was her college roommate, who was going to expose Patricia for cheating on the bar exam, then a rival at her first law firm, then her brother and sister-in-law Tyler's parents. She's been building her murder network for 3 decades, recruiting killers like Diana and Amy, creating a legacy of death. Paul Santos pulled up the files on his laptop. My God, there are dozens of victims we didn't know about. She didn't just train her children to kill, she's been recruiting and training others, like a murder franchise. And now the franchise is collapsing, my father said. Tyler's rebellion triggered a civil war. My phone rang. Amy Chen's number appeared on the screen. The 4th killer was calling. Don't answer that, Detective Chen ordered. But I was already hitting accept. Hello, Amy. Hi, Bertha. Her voice was bright and bubbly like we were sorority sisters planning brunch. So tiny change of plans. Tyler's gone rogue, which means you're my responsibility now. I'm really sorry about this. I actually liked you the few times we met at firm events. We've met. Oh, you wouldn't remember. I'm very forgettable when I want to be. It's a skill Patricia taught me. Blend in, be pleasant, never stand out until it's time to strike. like a brown recluse spider, she used to say. "Where are you, Amy?" "Closer than you think. Hey, did you know your childhood bedroom window has a broken lock? You should really get that fixed." "Oh wait, you won't need to." Every agent in the room spun toward my window. A figure in black was perched on the tree outside, phone in one hand, something else in the other. Nighty-night, Bertha. The window exploded inward as Amy threw something into the room. Not a grenade as the agents expected, but a jar. It shattered on impact, releasing its contents. Spiders. Dozens of Brazilian wandering spiders scattered across the floor, aggressive and deadly just like the ones my parents had sent. But these weren't contained. These were free, angry, and everywhere. "Everyone out!" Detective Chen shouted. Chaos erupted as people scrambled for the door. But spiders were already spreading, dropping from the curtains, emerging from the broken glass. One landed on an agent's neck. He screamed and fell convulsing. My parents grabbed me, pulling me toward the door, but more spiders blocked our path. We were trapped in a nightmare of eight-legged death. That's when I heard it. Gunshots from across town. The scanner in Detective Chen's car crackled to life. Shots fired at Caldwell residence. Multiple casualties, requesting all units. Tyler had reached Patricia. The final confrontation between creator and creation was happening while we fought for our lives against Amy's pets. "The bathroom!" my mother shouted. "It has no windows." We barricaded ourselves inside while agents outside tried to contain the spider invasion. Through the door, we could hear Amy's cheerful voice. "Patricia always said you were special, Bertha. That's why she wanted the best for you. Quick death, no suffering. But Tyler complicated things, so now we're doing this the messy way." More gunshots from the scanner, reports of fire at the Caldwell residence. Whatever was happening between Tyler and Patricia, it was escalating. "You know what the funny thing is?" Amy continued. "Patricia's not even the original. There was someone before her, someone who taught her everything. The grandmother of our little murder family. She's 93 now, living in a nursing home in Florida. Still sharp as a tack, still giving Patricia advice. There's another one," I called out, trying to keep her talking while the agents worked to clear the spiders. "Oh, honey, you have no idea how deep this goes. It's not a family business. It's a dynasty. Generation after generation, all the way back to 1929. The Black Widow Society, they called themselves originally. Patricia modernized it, franchised it. And now it's all falling apart because Tyler fell in love. Isn't that romantic?" The scanner crackled again. Caldwell residence fully engulfed. Fire department en route. 2 bodies visible inside. Tyler and Patricia burning together in their final embrace of mutual destruction. "Oops, sounds like Mom's dead," Amy said cheerfully. "Guess that makes me the new CEO. Don't worry, I'll run things differently. Less family drama, more efficiency, starting with you." The bathroom door splintered as something heavy hit it. Amy had found a weapon. But before she could break through, gunshots erupted in the hallway. Not from our agents. Someone else was firing. Amy's scream cut through the chaos, followed by silence. "It's clear," a familiar voice called. Diana's voice. But Diana was supposed to be dead. We cautiously opened the door to find Diana Vance standing over Amy's body, blood seeping from her own spider bites, but very much alive. "Tyler lied," she gasped, leaning against the wall. "Wanted everyone to think I was dead so I could get close to Amy. Family trait, I guess. We're all liars." She collapsed and the agents rushed to help her while avoiding the remaining spiders. In the distance, sirens wailed as every emergency vehicle in Denver responded to the war zone our neighborhood had become. "Is it over?" my mother asked, holding me tight. But I was staring at Amy's phone at the last message displayed on the screen. It wasn't from Patricia or Tyler or Diana. It was from a contact labeled grandmother. The message read, "If you're reading this, the Denver operation has failed. Activate Protocol 7. The society survives." "No," I said quietly. "It's not over. It's just beginning." Somewhere in Florida, a 93-year-old woman was planning the next move in a game that had been playing for nearly a century. The Black Widow Society, Amy had called it. How many chapters were there? How many killers in how many cities? Tyler and Patricia were dead. Diana was dying. Amy was gone. But the spider's web stretched further than any of us had imagined. And I was still caught in it. The aftermath of the spider attack left my childhood home a crime scene. Yellow tape hazmat teams and the lingering terror of what had crawled through those walls. Diana survived, barely rushed to intensive care, with enough anti-venom to stock a small hospital. Amy Chen's body was removed while news vans gathered outside like vultures. But I couldn't stop thinking about that message. Grandmother, the Black Widow Society, Protocol 7. 3 days later, I sat in a safe house with what remained of our team. Detective Chen looked exhausted. Ada Wright had aged years in hours, and my parents hadn't let go of each other since the attack. The official story was that Tyler and Patricia had killed each other in a murder-suicide. Diana was a victim who'd tried to stop them, and Amy Chen was a disturbed intern who'd snapped. The truth was classified above even Detective Chen's pay grade. The FBI is taking over, she told us grimly. This is now a national security issue. The Black Widow Society apparently has chapters in 12 cities. They're estimating over 100 victims spanning 94 years. And they want me to disappear, I said flatly. Witness protection, new identity, hide forever. It's the safest option, my father urged. Safe like Sarah was safe like Emma, like all the women who ran and hid and died anyway. I stood up, pacing the small room. No, I'm done running from these people. Bertha, be reasonable, my mother pleaded. I am being reasonable. They've taken 3 years of my life, poisoned me, tried to murder me with spiders, and turned my entire existence into a lie. And there's still a 93-year-old woman out there planning Protocol 7, whatever that is. The FBI will handle it, Detective Chen said. Well, they didn't know the society existed until 3 days ago. Patricia Caldwell operated for 30 years under their noses. How many other Patricias are out there? How many Amy's? Paul Santos, who'd been quietly researching on his laptop, looked up. I found something. The nursing home in Florida, Sunset Gardens in Boca Raton. Their oldest resident is Evelyn Blackwood, 93, former federal judge. A judge, Ada Wright, looked sick. How many of these people are in positions of power? That's what I intend to find out, I said. I want to talk to her. Absolutely not, Detective Chen said. You're a civilian. You've done enough. I've done enough. I laughed bitterly. I've survived. That's all I've done. These women have been hunting and killing for generations, and their victims just disappear into statistics. Someone needs to fight back. Not you, my mother said firmly. But I was already pulling out my phone, the one the FBI didn't know about, the burner I'd bought yesterday. I dialed the number I'd memorized from Amy's phone. Bertha, no. Detective Chen lunged for the phone, but I stepped away. It rang twice before a cultured elderly voice answered. Well, well, the infamous Bertha Morrison. I've been expecting your call. Hello, Mrs. Blackwood. Judge Blackwood, dear. I worked hard for that title. Though I suppose federal prison jumpsuits don't come with honorifics, so perhaps it doesn't matter anymore. You know why I'm calling? Of course. You want answers. The young always do. Very well, I'll grant you an audience. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Come alone or don't come at all. I'll be there. Oh, and Bertha, don't bother with wires or recording devices. At my age, I have nothing left to lose and everything to gain by telling the truth. The society's story deserves a proper historian. She hung up. Everyone in the room stared at me in horror. You just agreed to meet with the head of a murder syndicate, Detective Chen said. I agreed to get answers and bait. Bait. Protocol 7. Whatever it is, it needs me alive or it would have already been activated. Grandmother wants something from me. Your death, my father said. No, If she wanted me dead, she has the resources to make it happen. She wants something else, and I'm going to find out what. The next 24 hours were a battle. FBI agents insisted on involvement. My parents begged me to reconsider. Detective Chen threatened to arrest me for my own protection, but I held firm. This was my choice, my risk. Finally, a compromise. I would go, but with a full tactical team stationed outside. At the first sign of danger, they'd extract me. Paul Santos would monitor from a surveillance van, and I'd wear a new type of tracker that couldn't be detected by standard equipment. The flight to Florida felt like descending into hell. Every passenger could be a society member. Every flight attendant could be poisoning my drink. Paranoia was becoming my default state. Sunset Gardens looked like any upscale retirement community. Manicured lawns, cheerful staff residents playing chess by the pool. No one would guess it housed the grandmother of American serial killers. Evelyn Blackwood received me in her private suite, a space decorated with antiques and old photographs. She was tiny, bird-like, with perfectly styled white hair and sharp blue eyes that missed nothing. She looked like everyone's favorite grandmother until you noticed how those eyes dissected you. "Tea," she offered, gesturing to a silver service. "I'll pass." She laughed, a tinkling sound like broken glass. "Smart girl. Though if I wanted you dead, dear, you wouldn't have made it past the lobby. Please sit. We have much to discuss." I sat carefully in an armchair across from her. The room smelled of lavender and old money. "You're smaller than I expected," she mused. "Patricia made you sound like an Amazon, but then Patricia always did exaggerate." "Patricia's dead." "Yes," I heard. Burned alive with that disappointment she called a son. Fitting end for both of them. Patricia forgot the cardinal rule: never let emotion cloud judgment. She cared too much about legacy, about being remembered. The work should be invisible, not infamous. "The work you mean murder?" "I mean survival. Do you know how the society began, Bertha?" "Enlighten me." She settled back, eyes going distant. 1929. The year the stock market crashed and the world went mad. I was 5 years old, living in poverty you can't imagine. My mother cleaned houses for rich women who complained about their worthless husbands while wearing diamonds worth more than our lives. So she started killing them. She started solving problems. Abusive husbands who had accidents, corrupt businessmen who choked on their greed, women trapped in nightmares who suddenly found themselves free and wealthy. The Black Widow Society wasn't about murder, dear. It was about justice the system wouldn't provide. "You're romanticizing serial killing. Tell me how many women did Tyler murder before you?" "At least 5. "And how many did the system save? How many police reports were filed? How many warning signs ignored? The system fails women every day. We simply decided to stop waiting for rescue." "So you created more killers." "We created solutions. Each generation trained to be smarter, more careful, more effective than the last, until Patricia corrupted it all with her greed and ambition. She turned our calling into a business, our mission into murder for profit." "Your mission was always murder." "Our mission was balance. Remove those who hurt others. Protect those who couldn't protect themselves. Yes, we profited, but that was secondary. Patricia made it primary. She created monsters like Tyler instead of guardians like we were meant to be." I studied her, this tiny woman justifying decades of death. "Why am I here, Judge Blackwood?" "Because you're the key to our future. You survived not 1, but 4 of our members. You exposed our existence to the world. You're either our greatest threat or our greatest asset." Asset. The society needs new leadership. Someone who understands both sides, who's been predator and prey. Someone who can restore our original purpose. I laughed in disbelief. "You want me to join you to lead your murder club?" "I want you to transform it. Take the skills, the network, the resources, and turn them toward their original purpose. Imagine what you could do with 100 trained women at your disposal. How many Tylers you could stop before they claimed their first victim. By becoming a killer myself, by becoming a protector, the system failed you, Bertha. It fails women every day. We could change that. Protocol 7, I said suddenly. That's what this is, recruitment. She smiled. Protocol 7 is whatever the survivor chooses it to be, destruction or transformation. The society dies with me or it evolves with you. And if I refuse, then you leave here unharmed and we fade into history. The networks dissolve, the resources scatter, and the next generation of predators hunts without opposition. How many women will die because you chose moral purity over practical action? The weight of her words settled on me like stones. She was offering me an army of killers and asking me to turn them into heroes. It was insane. It was tempting. It was everything Tyler had seen in me, that capacity for darkness dressed up as justice. I need time to think. Of course, you have 48 hours before the society formally dissolves. My number is programmed into your phone. How did you... Dear, we've been watching you since birth. Your mother prosecuted several of our targets. We almost recruited her in '87, but she chose the system over us. I'm curious to see if her daughter is wiser. I stood to leave, my mind reeling. At the door, I turned back. Those women Tyler killed. Were any of them society members? Sarah was. She was investigating him for us when he killed her. We failed to protect our own. Another of Patricia's failures. Sarah, Tyler's first wife, had been one of them, hunting the hunter when he turned the tables. The irony was suffocating. I left Sunset Gardens with more questions than answers and a decision that could reshape everything. In the surveillance van, Paul Santos looked at me with concern. What did she want? She wants me to become her, I said quietly, to take over the Black Widow Society and turn it into something else. That's insane. Is it? How many Tylers are out there right now planning their next kill? How many women are being slowly poisoned by husbands they trust? The system didn't save me. My parents' desperation and a box of spiders did. You can't seriously be considering this. I thought about all those photographs on the wall in Tyler's storage unit. All those women who'd trusted the wrong person. All those families destroyed by predators in human skin. I have 48 hours to decide, I said. Whether to let 94 years of murder die with her or try to turn it into something that could actually protect people. Bertha, these are killers. So was I the moment I chose to survive. The only question now is what kind of killer I'll become. The kind that serves justice or the kind that serves revenge. Tyler thought he was training me to be like him. Maybe he succeeded more than either of us realized. We drove away from Sunset Gardens in silence, but Evelyn Blackwood's words echoed in my mind. The system had failed me. It had failed Sarah, Emma, all of them. Maybe it was time to try something different. Maybe it was time for the prey to become predators with a purpose. 48 hours to decide the future of the Black Widow Society. 48 hours to choose between the law that had failed to protect me and the lawless who offered to make me their queen. Tyler was dead, but his legacy lived on in the choice he'd forced me to make. What kind of survivor would I become? The 48 hours passed in a blur of heated debates, soul-searching, and strategic planning. In the end, I made a decision that surprised everyone, including myself. I called Judge Blackwood and accepted her offer, but with conditions. The Black Widow Society would transform into something new, a network dedicated to protecting potential victims, exposing predators, and working within the law whenever possible. We would be watchers, guardians, and only in the most extreme circumstances, when all other options failed, would we consider darker methods. The FBI was furious when they found out, but I'd negotiated immunity in exchange for full cooperation in dismantling the old society structure and rebuilding it as an official consultant network. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than letting 94 years of infrastructure disappear into the shadows. 3 months later, I stood in a federal courthouse preparing to testify in what the media called the trial of the century. Not against Tyler, he was dead. Not against Patricia, she'd burned with her creation, but against the surviving members of the Black Widow Society who'd refused transformation and clung to the old ways. The prosecutor was a younger version of my mother, fierce and uncompromising. The defense attorney was Patricia's protege, trained by the best and fighting for the worst. And in the defendant's chair sat Margaret Thornfield, 72, a respected psychiatrist who'd used her practice to identify vulnerable women for society recruitment or targeting. "Are you ready?" Detective Chen asked. She'd been promoted after the Denver incident, now heading a federal task force on predatory murders. "As ready as anyone can be to testify against a serial-killing grandmother," I replied, smoothing my blazer. The courtroom was packed. Media survivors' families, and in a special secured section, 12 elderly women in shackles, the remaining old guard of the Black Widow Society, who'd chosen prison over evolution. As I took the stand, I caught sight of familiar faces in the gallery, my parents looking proud and terrified in equal measure. Paul Santos, now head of security for our new organization, and in the back, wearing dark glasses and a scarf, Diana Vance. She'd survived the spider attack but would never be the same. The venom had damaged her nervous system, leaving her with tremors and partial paralysis. She'd traded her immunity for testimony and now worked with us to identify other society chapters. "State your name for the record," the prosecutor began. "Bertha Morrison." I kept the married name as a reminder, some scars we choose to carry. "Mrs. Morrison, can you tell the court how you first became aware of the Black Widow Society?" I took a breath, my mind flashing back to that birthday 3 months ago when a box of spiders arrived at my door. It started when my parents sent me a warning disguised as a murder attempt. They knew my husband was planning to kill me, and they chose an extreme method to save my life. For the next 4 hours, I laid out everything: Tyler's murders, Patricia's network, the generational pattern of killings. The courtroom sat in horrified silence as I described the spider collections, the poison schedules, the insurance schemes that had funded decades of death. "And you now lead what remains of this organization?" the defense attorney asked on cross-examination. "I lead its transformation," I corrected. "We've shifted from perpetrators to protectors. In 3 months, we've identified 47 potential victims and intervened before violence occurred. We've exposed 12 predators to law enforcement with evidence that led to arrests. We're doing what the original society claimed to do, protecting women, but through legal means." "Legal means you employed killers, Mrs. Morrison. Former killers who chose redemption over prison. Each one undergoes psychological evaluation, intensive monitoring, and works under strict oversight. They're using their skills to identify predatory patterns, not to harm anyone." But the potential for harm remains, doesn't it? These women are trained killers. "Yes," I said simply, "just as soldiers are trained killers who we trust to protect us. The difference is purpose and accountability." The defense attorney smirked. "Speaking of accountability, isn't it true you planned to meet with Tyler Morrison after learning he was a serial killer, that you considered his offer to murder his mother?" The accusation hung in the air like poison. I met her gaze steadily. "Yes." For approximately 30 seconds, I considered every option that might keep me alive. That's what survivors do. We adapt, we consider unthinkable options. We fight with whatever tools we have. But I chose law over lawlessness. That's why I'm here testifying instead of hiding bodies. Yet you accepted leadership of a murder organization. I accepted leadership of women who'd been twisted into weapons and offered them a chance to become shields instead. Every day, 24 women die at the hands of intimate partners in this country. The system failed to protect me and countless others. I'm trying to build something that won't fail the next generation. During a recess, Margaret Thornfield's granddaughter approached me. She was my age, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't know," she whispered. I thought Grandma was just a therapist. I sent my best friend to her for help after an abusive relationship. My friend died 6 months later. Accident, they said. What was her name? I asked gently. Lisa Park. She fell down her apartment stairs. I made a note. Another victim to add to our growing database. Another family deserving answers. When court reconvened, the prosecutor introduced evidence we'd gathered through the New Society Network. Financial records showing a century of murder for profit. Training manuals that read like horror novels. Lists of victims that seemed endless. But the most damning evidence came from an unexpected source. The prosecution calls Diana Vance to the stand. She moved slowly, her cane tapping against the floor. The former killer looked fragile, but her voice was strong as she took the oath. Ms. Vance, you were a member of the Black Widow Society for how long? 23 years, since I was 19. And in that time, how many people did you kill? 17. The number fell like a stone into still water. 15 men who were abusing partners. 2 women who were rival society members threatening exposure. Can you name them? For the next hour, Diana recited names, dates, methods. Each confession another nail in the old society's coffin. When she finished, the courtroom was silent except for the sound of survivors' families crying. Why testify now? The prosecutor asked. Because Bertha Morrison showed me something I'd forgotten, that we have a choice. I chose wrong for 23 years. This testimony is my attempt to choose right, even if it's too late for redemption. The defense's cross-examination was brutal, painting Diana as a monster, trying to save herself. But she endured it with quiet dignity, accepting every accusation. You're a serial killer, the defense attorney stated. Yes. You poisoned, strangled, and pushed people to their deaths. Yes. And we're supposed to believe you've suddenly developed a conscience. No, Diana said quietly. I don't have a conscience. Sociopaths rarely do. But I have logic. The old way led to my nephew's death, my sister's death, my mother's death, and my own near death. It's a failed system. Bertha offers a better one. I choose efficiency over tradition. It was chilling testimony, a killer's pragmatism rather than redemption. But it was honest, and the jury leaned forward, fascinated by the monster who'd chosen to cage herself. During the lunch break, Ada Wright pulled me aside. The jury's going to convict on the evidence, but public opinion is split. Some see you as a hero reforming evil. Others think you're creating a private army of assassins. Let them think what they want, I said. I know what we're building. Every woman we protect, every predator we expose justifies the risk. And if one of your reformed killers relapses, if someone dies, then I'll take responsibility. But doing nothing guarantees more deaths. I've made my choice. Court reconvened with the defense's final desperate play. They called Evelyn Blackwood via video link from federal prison. At 93, she commanded the screen with regal bearing. Judge Blackwood, the defense began. You founded the modern Black Widow Society. Do you support what Bertha Morrison has done to your organization? Support. Evelyn laughed. I created it. The society was always meant to evolve. Each generation was supposed to improve on the last. Patricia corrupted it with greed. Her son corrupted it with emotion. But Bertha, she's returning it to its roots, protection, not profit. You're saying you approve of your life's work being dismantled. I'm saying a 94-year-old tree was rotting from within. Bertha's not dismantling it. She's pruning the diseased branches so new growth can flourish. The society I founded in 1929 would have approved. We lost our way. She's helping us find it again. It was a masterful performance, the matriarch blessing her successor. The prosecution wisely didn't cross-examine, letting her words stand. In my hotel room that night, I found a package waiting. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. Tyler's. My dead husband had mailed something before his final confrontation with Patricia. Inside was a leather journal and a note. for the woman I couldn't be brave enough to save. May you save others. The journal contained names, hundreds of them. Women Tyler had researched as potential victims over the years. Women who fit his profile, who had vulnerabilities he could exploit. His shopping list of future murders. But now it was a protection list. Every name a life we could safeguard. I called Detective Chen immediately. We have work to do. The trial continued for 2 more weeks. 12 convictions, 12 life sentences. The old Black Widow Society was officially dead, its survivors imprisoned or transformed. But in its place, something new grew. The Guardian Network, we called it. Former predators becoming protectors. Survivors helping survivors. A shadow organization stepping into the light. 6 months later, we'd prevented 43 murders, exposed 16 predators, and provided safe houses for over 200 women fleeing dangerous situations. Not through violence, but through vigilance. Through the very skills the society had perfected for death, now turned toward life. Standing in our new headquarters, a building bought with seized society assets, I looked at the wall of photographs. Not victims, but saves. Women who'd lived because we'd learned to spot the patterns, intercept the predators, provide the warnings. My phone buzzed with a new case. A woman in Portland whose husband's behavior matched Tyler's early patterns. Increased life insurance, mysterious illnesses, gaslighting about her concerns. Team 3, you're up, I announced. Portland, possible Tyler copycat, full surveillance and intervention protocols. As my team mobilized, I touched my wedding ring, still wore it as a reminder. Tyler had tried to make me a victim. Patricia had tried to make me a killer. Evelyn had tried to make me a queen. Instead, I'd become something none of them expected: a guardian. Not perfect, not pure, but effective. The Black Widow Society had spent 94 years perfecting the art of murder. Now we'd spend the next 94 perfecting the art of prevention. Tyler was dead. His legacy was not. But I'd transformed that legacy from poison into medicine, from predation into protection. And somewhere in Portland, a woman would live because we'd learned from the dead. The trial was over. The real work had just begun. 1 year after Tyler's death, I faced the biggest test of the Guardian Network's credibility. The Senate Judiciary Committee had called hearings on what they termed vigilante organizations operating outside law enforcement oversight. Translation, they wanted to shut us down. I sat in the preparation room with my legal team, including my mother, who'd come out of retirement specifically for this fight. The media painted us as everything from heroes to potential terrorists. Today would determine our future. They're going to come at you hard, my mother warned. Senator Walsh lost his nephew to a society member 20 years ago. He wants blood. Then he should appreciate what we're doing, I said, adjusting my microphone. We're preventing more nephews from dying. Logic doesn't apply here. This is politics. Through the window, I could see the hearing room filling up. Survivors we'd helped. Families of society victims, FBI agents who'd worked our cases, and in the back, carefully separated former society members who'd joined our transformation. Diana wheeled herself in her testimony scheduled after mine. In the year since the spider attack, she'd become our most effective trainer, teaching others to recognize predatory patterns. Redemption through education, she called it. Ready? Detective Chen asked. She'd been promoted again, now liaising between the network and federal authorities. No one's ever ready to defend employing serial killers, I said. But here we go. The hearing room fell silent as I entered. Cameras flashed. Protesters outside chanted both for and against us. I took my seat at the witness table, the weight of 94 years of history on my shoulders. Senator Walsh didn't waste time with pleasantries. Mrs. Morrison, you admit to leading an organization staffed by murderers. I lead an organization staffed by women who've committed murders, yes, but their past doesn't define their present or future. Doesn't it? Can leopards truly change their spots? Senators can. You yourself were arrested for drunk driving in college, were you not? Yet here you sit trusted with our nation's laws. People change, Senator. That's the foundation of our justice system. He flushed but pressed on. These women killed in cold blood. Yes, and now they use that same cold calculation to identify potential killers before they strike. Who better to catch a predator than someone who understands predatory thinking? So you fight fire with fire. We fight fire with firefighters who understand how fire thinks, how it moves, how to stop it before it spreads. Senator Chen from California, no relation to Detective Chen, leaned forward. Can you provide concrete examples of your organization's success? I opened my prepared folder. Certainly. Case 1, Jennifer Martinez, Tucson. Her husband had increased her life insurance and begun researching untraceable poisons. Our surveillance team, led by a former society member, recognized the pattern and intervened. Mr. Martinez is now serving 25 years for attempted murder. Case 2. The Seattle nursing home murders. 8 elderly women died of natural causes over 6 months. Our analysis team noticed they all had the same financial advisor who inherited small amounts from each. Investigation revealed he was slowly poisoning them. 11 more potential victims were saved. Case 3, Rebecca Stone, Miami. Trapped in an abusive marriage but unable to prove it for a restraining order. Our safe house network, partially staffed by former society members who understand the psychology of control, helped her escape and build a legal case. Her ex-husband was convicted of assault and stalking. And how many of these cases required illegal methods? Senator Walsh interrupted. None. Every intervention followed legal protocols. We gather evidence and turn it over to law enforcement. We provide protection through licensed security. We offer counseling through certified therapists. The only difference is that our people recognize danger patterns others miss. Because they're killers themselves. Because they're experts in predatory behavior, just as we consult with hackers on cybersecurity and reformed criminals on crime prevention. The hearing continued for hours. They grilled me on financing, seized society assets, government contracts, and private donations, oversight monthly FBI reviews, mandatory therapy, electronic monitoring for high-risk members, and accountability immediate prosecution for any illegal acts. Then came the moment I dreaded. Let's discuss your own actions, Senator Walsh said, pulling out a thick file. Is it true you considered murdering Patricia Caldwell? For approximately 10 seconds, yes. When facing multiple killers, I considered every survival option. And you met privately with Tyler Morrison after learning he was a serial killer. To gather evidence, yes, which led to exposing the entire society network. You accepted leadership of a murder organization. I accepted leadership of broken women and offered them redemption through service. How poetic. Tell me, Mrs. Morrison, what makes you qualified to judge who deserves redemption and who doesn't? I felt my prepared answer crumble. He'd hit the core doubt I carried every day. I don't, I said quietly. The room stirred at my honesty. I don't judge who deserves redemption. I simply offer the opportunity. Some take it and transform, like Diana Vance, who's saved 19 lives this year. Others refuse and remain in prison. But shouldn't we at least try to redirect their skills toward good, even if it risks innocent lives? Senator, innocent lives are at risk every day from predators we don't see coming. At least with our people, we know the danger and monitor it. Would you rather have reformed killers helping us or unreformed ones hiding in plain sight? Before he could answer, a commotion erupted in the gallery. A young woman stood up, tears streaming. "Let her speak," someone shouted. The chairman gavelled for order, but the woman continued. "My name is Ashley Coleman. The Guardian Network saved my life. My ex-boyfriend was planning to kill me. The signs were all there, but no one saw them except a counselor at their safe house. That counselor used to be society. She recognized the pattern because she'd used it herself. I'm alive because a killer chose to become a protector." More survivors stood sharing similar stories. The chairman threatened to clear the gallery, but the damage was done. The human faces of our success had broken through the political theater. Order. The chairman finally restored calm. Miss Coleman, please be seated. Mrs. Morrison will take a brief recess before continuing. During the break, my mother squeezed my hand. You're doing great. Walsh is losing the room. But I was watching Diana being wheeled to the witness table. Her testimony would make or break us. A confessed serial killer defending our mission. When we reconvened, Diana faced the committee with her usual calm. Senator Walsh looked like a shark scenting blood. Ms. Vance, you've murdered 17 people. Yes. Yet we're supposed to trust you around vulnerable women. No, that's why I'm monitored, constantly undergo weekly psychological evaluations, and am never alone with clients. Trust is earned, not assumed. Do you feel remorse for your victims? I'm incapable of remorse. I'm a diagnosed sociopath, but I feel waste. 17 lives ended for money and misplaced loyalty. Now I use my skills to prevent waste. It's logical, not emotional. So you could kill again. Physically, yes. I retain the knowledge. But I won't because it's inefficient. The old way led to destruction of everything I valued. This way leads to sustainable success. I'm not good senator, I'm practical. And practically speaking, saving lives serves my interests better than taking them. It was chilling honesty. No false redemption narrative, just cold calculation turned toward better ends. The committee didn't know how to handle it. How can the public trust someone who admits to having no conscience? Diana tilted her head. They can't. That's why the network exists, to channel people like me toward productive ends under careful supervision. Would you prefer I be in prison costing taxpayers money, or out here using my expertise to save lives while being watched every moment? I'd prefer you face justice for your crimes. I am. Every life I save is partial payment for those I took. I'll never balance the scales, but I can tip them toward justice rather than adding more weight to injustice. The hearing went on for 3 days. Testimony from saved victims, reformed society members, law enforcement partners, and opposition voices claiming we were a danger. Through it all, I held to one truth. Imperfect protection was better than perfect vulnerability. On the final day, an unexpected witness appeared. Evelyn Blackwood, now 94, was wheeled in via video link from federal prison. Judge Blackwood, the chairman, began, "Do you have a statement regarding the Guardian Network?" "I do." Her voice was weaker, but still commanding. "I spent 90 years building an empire of death. I trained killers, facilitated murders, corrupted justice. My legacy should have been eternal infamy." She paused, those sharp eyes finding mine through the camera. "But Bertha Morrison stole my legacy. She took my killers and made them protectors. My network of death became a network of life. My careful training in murder became expertise in prevention. She robbed me of my dark immortality and replaced it with something I never expected: hope." Are you saying you support the Guardian Network? I'm saying I'm dying in prison where I belong, but my students are saving lives under careful supervision. That's justice, senators. Ugly, complicated, imperfect justice. The kind that actually works in our ugly, complicated, imperfect world. Her testimony shifted the tide. The committee voted 7-5 to allow the Guardian Network to continue operating under federal oversight. Not a ringing endorsement, but survival. Outside the Capitol, protesters both celebrated and raged. I stood on the steps, exhausted but victorious, as reporters shouted questions. "Mrs. Morrison, how do you respond to critics who say you're harboring murderers?" I respond with numbers. 437 women saved in 18 months. 63 predators exposed and prosecuted. 0 crimes committed by network members. We're not perfect, but we're effective. What about the families of society victims? Don't they deserve pure justice? Diana wheeled up beside me. They deserve to have future families spared their pain. That's what we provide. A woman pushed through the crowd, Lisa Park's mother, whose daughter had died after seeing Margaret Thornfield for therapy. "You saved others," she said, tears streaming. My Lisa is still gone, but you saved others. Thank you. It wasn't forgiveness that wasn't hers to give, but it was acknowledgement that prevention mattered as much as punishment. That night, back at network headquarters, I stood before our full team. Former killers and survivors, FBI liaisons, and social workers, all united in purpose. We survived, I announced. The committee approved our continuation. But this is just the beginning. Every day we'll face scrutiny. Every save will be questioned. Every member will be judged by their worst moment rather than their current actions. But we'll continue because the women we protect deserve it. Diana raised her water glass. To ugly justice. To ugly justice, we echoed. As the celebration continued, I stepped onto the balcony looking out over the city. Somewhere out there, predators were planning their next hunt, but now they faced opposition from those who understood their methods better than anyone. Tyler had tried to make me a victim. Patricia had tried to make me a killer. Evelyn had tried to make me a queen. The Senate had tried to make me a pariah. Instead, I'd become something none of them expected: a bridge between darkness and light, using one to serve the other. The Guardian Network wasn't perfect. We employed monsters to catch monsters. We walked ethical tightropes daily. We faced hatred from those who couldn't see past our members' histories. But tonight, women would sleep safely because former killers stood watch. Predators would hesitate because they knew we could see through their masks. And somewhere in federal prison, a 94-year-old woman would die, knowing her legacy had been transformed from poison to medicine. The testimony was over. The real judgment would come from every life we saved or failed to save. But tonight we'd won the right to keep trying. And in this business, trying was everything. The Senate hearing victory should have been our moment of triumph. Instead, it triggered something none of us saw coming: a coordinated assault from the shadows of the old society we thought we'd destroyed. It started 3 weeks after the hearing. I was reviewing cases in my office when Diana burst in, moving faster than I'd seen since her spider injuries. "We have a problem," she gasped. "Remember Protocol 7, the grandmother's final directive? Recruitment or dissolution? I chose transformation. There was a Protocol 8. She slammed a letter on my desk. "This arrived at my safe house. They know where I live, Bertha. They know where we all live." The letter was written in Evelyn Blackwood's elegant script. "My dear Diana, if you're reading this, Protocol 7 failed, and our wayward Bertha has corrupted you all with her delusions of redemption. Protocol 8 activates upon my death a cleansing. The society protects its secrets. Those who betray it face consequences. You have 72 hours before the cleaners arrive. Yes, even you, my daughter, are not exempt. Blood means nothing to the society. Only loyalty matters. There is no running from this. Accept your fate with dignity. Mother." My blood ran cold. "Your mother, Patricia, was your mother." "Adoptive mother," Diana corrected. "Evelyn adopted several of us, raised us in the ways. Patricia was her biological daughter. I was chosen. We were sisters in every way that mattered. And now she's activated killers to eliminate you all." "Not killers, cleaners. The society's internal enforcement division. Think of them as our internal affairs, except their corrections are permanent." I hit the emergency alert, summoning our entire security team. "How many cleaners exist?" "When I was active 6, now unknown. They operate independently, answer only to the grandmother, and have one job: eliminate threats to the society." "But the society is dissolved. We transformed it." "We transformed one branch. Evelyn had contingencies, hidden cells, sleeper agents, resources we never found." Diana's hands shook as she reread the letter. 72 hours. She always did like her countdowns. Within an hour, similar letters had been reported from network members across the country. Every former society member who'd joined us had received the same warning. The cleaners were coming. "We need to consolidate," Detective Chen commanded, taking charge of security. "Bring everyone to secure locations." 43 former society members spread across 12 states. I said, scanning our roster. We can't protect them all. Then we go on offense, Diana suggested. Hunt the hunters. With what information we don't know who they are, where they are, or how many exist. A knock at my door interrupted us. My assistant entered pale-faced. Ma'am, there's a woman here. Says she's a cleaner and wants to negotiate. We exchanged shocked looks. Cleaners didn't negotiate. They cleaned. Send her in, I decided. Full security protocols. The woman who entered looked like a kindergarten teacher. Mid-50s cardigan sweater, gentle smile. She sat down like she was attending a PTA meeting not representing a death squad. Mrs. Morrison, I'm Martha. I've been a cleaner for 22 years. And you're here to kill our members. Oh, heavens no. I'm here to prevent a massacre. She pulled out her own letter. You see, Protocol 8 has a flaw. It activates on Evelyn's death, but it doesn't specify natural death. Someone murdered her. The room went silent. Evelyn Blackwood, the grandmother of American serial killers, murdered in federal prison. That's impossible, Detective Chen said. She's in solitary monitored constantly. Yet she died of anaphylactic shock yesterday. Somehow someone introduced shellfish into her food despite her documented allergy. Someone who knew that would trigger Protocol 8. Who would benefit from that? I asked. Martha smiled sadly. Someone who wants the old society to devour itself while they build something new. You're not the only one who had transformation ideas, Mrs. Morrison, but others preferred more aggressive approaches. She produced a tablet showing surveillance footage from various cities. In each, former society members were being stalked by unknown figures. 6 cleaners received activation orders, Martha explained. I'm one. 2 others share my concerns about this suspicious timing. 3 are proceeding with termination protocols. If we don't stop them, you'll lose half your network by week's end. Why help us? Diana asked suspiciously. Because I've spent 22 years cleaning up society messes, and I'm tired. Your transformation offers retirement with purpose instead of a shallow grave. Plus, she looked directly at me. I was Sarah Morrison's aunt. Tyler murdered my niece. I'd rather work with her successor than the old guard who protected him. Another revelation in a year full of them. Sarah's aunt had been a society cleaner, probably investigating her own niece's death when Protocol 8 activated. What do you need? I asked. 3 cleaners are hunting. 2 will go after high-value targets, first former society leadership who joined you. 1 is special. She likes to play with her food. We need to stop all 3 within 48 hours, or Protocol 8 succeeds and your network loses its most valuable assets. Our reformed killers, I said. Your experienced protectors, Martha corrected. Without them, you're just social workers with good intentions. With them, you're a force that understands predators from the inside. I looked at Diana, my most effective trainer despite her injuries, at the photos of other former society members who'd risked everything to change. They weren't perfect people, but they were our people now. Tell us about the 3 cleaners, I decided. Martha pulled up profiles. Cleaner 1, Rebecca Vance, Diana's cousin, specializes in poisons, likely already in position near her targets. Cleaner 2, Jennifer Wu, former CIA recruited after retirement, prefers accidents, car crashes, falls, mechanical failures. Cleaner 3, the ghost. Even I don't know her real name. She's different, theatrical. She'll want to make an example of someone important. Me, Diana said flatly. I'm the highest-ranking defector. She'll come for me. Most likely, the ghost sees termination as art, you betraying the family. That's a masterpiece waiting to happen. Then we use that, I said, a plan forming. Diana becomes bait while we hunt the other 2. Absolutely not, Detective Chen protested. We're not risking our people as bait. We're already at risk, Diana pointed out. At least this way we control the battlefield. I can help with the first 2, Martha offered. I know their methods, their safe houses, but the ghost, she's survived 40 years in this business by being unpredictable. Then we be unpredictable too, I decided. We've spent a year being defensive, proving we're good guys. Time to remind everyone we're reformed predators, not reformed prey. The next 24 hours were controlled chaos. We evacuated potential targets while leaving careful trails for the cleaners to follow. Martha worked with our tech team to track her former colleagues' movements, and Diana prepared for her role as bait with unsettling calm. "You know, this is insane," I told her as we set up the trap location, an abandoned society safe house in Denver, symbolic and practical. "I've been insane my whole life," she replied, checking weapon placements. "At least now I'm using it productively." The first cleaner fell into our trap in Boston. Rebecca Vance had infiltrated a hospital where one of our members worked, planning to poison her through tampered medical supplies. Martha intercepted her, and after a brief struggle involving syringes and scalpels, Rebecca was in custody. "One down," Detective Chen reported. "But Jennifer Wu just caused a near-miss car accident in Seattle. Our member survived, but barely." "And the ghost?" I asked. "Nothing. No sightings, no patterns, no..." The lights in our command center went out. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red light. "She's here," Martha whispered. "She's in the building." Impossible. We were in the heart of network headquarters, surrounded by security with Diana's trap 20 miles away. "Unless..." I grabbed my phone, calling Diana. "It's not you. You were never the target. Get back here now." "Oh, please don't ruin my surprise." The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, echoing through our speaker system. Though I suppose Martha already did by switching sides. Predictable as always, Martha. "Show yourself," Martha called out. But I am showing myself. Every dead society member who trusted Bertha Morrison is me showing myself. Every failure of this pathetic transformation is my signature. "We haven't lost anyone," I said. "Haven't you checked your messages, dear? Jennifer Wu is more efficient than you thought." My phone buzzed with urgent messages. 3 of our members in different cities all attacked simultaneously. 2 injured, 1 critical. While we'd focused on protecting Diana, the real attacks happened elsewhere. "Misdirection," Diana said, bursting into the room. "Classic ghost technique." "Oh, good, the gang's all here." The ghost's voice turned pleased. "Now for the finale. You see, Protocol 8 wasn't just about cleaning house. It was about sending a message. The society doesn't transform. It endures or it dies. Guess which you've chosen?" Gas began seeping through the ventilation system. Not lethal, that wasn't the ghost's style. This was paralytic, designed to leave us conscious but helpless while she worked. "Masks," Martha shouted, but it was too late. The gas was too fast, too effective. As my muscles locked and vision blurred, a figure materialized from the shadows. Not the dangerous woman I'd expected, but a teenager. 17, maybe 18, with dead eyes and a pleasant smile. "Surprise," she said cheerfully. "Everyone expects the ghost to be some old master, but Evelyn recruited young. I've been doing this since I was 12. You're not the only one she groomed for leadership, Bertha." She moved through our paralyzed forms like a dancer, checking pulses, adjusting positions. "Don't worry, I'm not here to kill you all, just to make a point. The society has many branches, many granddaughters. You transformed one twig while the tree still grows." She stopped at Diana, tilting her head. "You were supposed to be great, Patricia's biggest disappointment. Well, besides Tyler. But you chose this, helping victims instead of creating them. How boring. The new generation doesn't want your old ways." I managed to gasp out, fighting the paralysis. "No, tell that to the 12 new recruits I trained this year. Tell that to the judge's daughter in Miami, who just discovered how profitable her mother's connections can be. Tell that to the senator's wife in D.C. who's tired of being ignored. The society doesn't recruit Bertha. It attracts those who already have the hunger. We just teach them to feed properly." She pulled out a syringe, approaching me. "This won't kill you, but it will mark you. Every network member will know the ghost could have ended you but chose mercy. They'll wonder when I'll return if every shadow hides a cleaner, if transformation just painted targets on their backs." The needle touched my neck. but before she could inject, Martha's hand caught her wrist. The older woman had fought off the paralysis through sheer will and experience. "Protocol 9, Martha gasped. "Check. Protocol 9. The ghost's eyes widened. She dropped the syringe, backing away. "That's not possible. She wouldn't—" "She would, and did," Martha managed. "Evelyn knew. Someone would betray. Protocol 9 activates if 8 fails." "What's Protocol 9? I asked, feeling sensation returning. The ghost was already fleeing, her confidence shattered. "The inheritance clause. If Protocol 8 fails to clean house in 72 hours, all society resources transfer to whoever stopped it. She gave you everything if you survived us." Martha smiled grimly as sirens approached. "Evelyn always hedged her bets. Test you with 8, reward you with 9. Either the society dies as intended, or it transforms under someone strong enough to stop the cleaners." "We won," Diana asked, struggling upright. "We survived round 1, I corrected. "But the ghost is right. There are more out there. More branches, more recruits, more hunger being fed in shadows. But now you have resources to fight them," Martha said. "Hidden accounts, safe houses, intelligence networks. Evelyn's final gift to whoever proved worthy of leading the society's evolution." 2 days later, we'd captured Jennifer Wu and driven the ghost underground. 3 cleaners neutralized Protocol 8, failed, and suddenly the Guardian Network had inherited a fortune in blood money. "What do we do with it?" Detective Chen asked, staring at the accounts Martha had revealed. "There's enough here to fund operations for decades." "We use it," I decided. "Every penny toward protecting future victims. Evelyn made this money from death. We'll spend it on life." "The ghost is still out there," Diana reminded us, and she mentioned new recruits. "Then we have work to do. The old society is dead, but its children still hunt. We'll find them, offer them the same choice, transform or face justice." "And if they choose neither," Martha asked, "then they face us. Former predators who understand exactly how they think and aren't afraid to hunt them back." I stood at the window looking out at the city. Somewhere out there, a teenage serial killer plotted revenge. New society branches grew in darkness. Predators stalked prey. But we were ready. Armed with Evelyn's resources, Martha's knowledge, and our own hard-won experience, the Guardian Network had evolved from defensive to offensive. The war wasn't over. Protocol 8 had been just one battle, but we'd proven something important: the transformed society could defeat the traditional one. Now came the harder task: finding and stopping every shadow branch before more women died. The hunter had become the hunted, and we were very, very good at hunting. 6 months after Protocol 8 failed, I stood in a conference room that would have made Tyler's jaw drop. Not because of its luxury, the Guardian Network operated efficiently, not opulently, but because of who filled the seats. 23 women, all survivors of attempted murder by intimate partners. But more than that, they were the wives, girlfriends, and daughters of our former targets. Women we'd saved from becoming victims of the next Tyler Morrison. "Welcome to the Phoenix program." I began studying their faces. Some showed fear, others determination, all carried the unique exhaustion of those who'd loved monsters. "You're here because you survived. Now we're going to teach you how to help others do the same." Rachel Stevens, whose husband had been 3 days away from staging her suicide, raised her hand. "Why, Phoenix?" "Because you're rising from the ashes of who you were supposed to be, victims. Instead, you'll become advocates, counselors, and early warning systems for women who are where you were." The program was Diana's brainchild, developed during her long recovery. If former killers could become protectors, why not train former victims to become shields? "But we're not killers," another woman, Jennifer, said quietly. "We don't have their skills." "No." Diana wheeled herself, in her voice strong despite her permanent injuries. "You have something more valuable. You know what it feels like to love someone who's planning your death. You recognize the signs others miss because you live them. Over the following weeks, the Phoenix program evolved into something beautiful and terrible. We taught them to recognize poisoning symptoms, staging patterns, isolation techniques. Not to become killers, but to become witnesses who could articulate what they'd survived in ways that would save others. Rachel Stevens became our star pupil. The marketing executive channeled her near-death experience into creating public awareness campaigns that were subtle enough to reach victims without alerting their abusers. Her tagline, "Love shouldn't leave bruises inside or out," went viral after a senator's daughter shared it, not knowing it would save her own life 3 months later. The real test came when Evelyn's Protocol 9 inheritance revealed more than just money. Hidden in Swiss safety deposit boxes were detailed files on potential society recruits going back decades. Women who'd been approached but declined men who'd shown promise but lacked the stomach for killing teenagers, marked for grooming but never contacted. It's a predator prevention goldmine, Paul Santos breathed, scrolling through thousands of names. We know who they considered dangerous before they became dangerous. Or we know who might be susceptible to recruitment by the ghost and her new network. Detective Chen countered. This could be a hit list or a hiring pool. I made the call to treat it as both. Each name would be investigated, evaluated, and if necessary, intercepted. But something unexpected happened when we started reaching out. "You're Bertha Morrison." The young woman across from me couldn't have been more than 19. Aisha Williams flagged by the society at age 12 for showing promising detachment after finding her mother's body. The woman who transformed the Black Widows. "That's one way to put it," I said carefully. "My grandmother told me stories, said the society tried to recruit her in the 60s, but she chose nursing instead. Spent her life saving people they would have killed. She always wondered what would have happened if she'd said yes." "And you?" "I've been approached 3 times. Once at 14 after my mom died. Again at 16 after I put my stepfather in the hospital for hitting my sister. Last month, someone calling herself the Ghost offered me a full scholarship if I'd attend her special program." My blood chilled. The Ghost is recruiting openly. Not openly, carefully. She finds girls like me angry, smart damaged, offers us power and purpose. Half my group home got invitations. This led to our next evolution. The Guardian Network couldn't just protect potential victims, we had to prevent potential killers. The Phoenix program expanded to include at-risk youth, offering them the same power and purpose, but channeled toward protection, not predation. "You're building an army," my mother observed during one of her visits. She'd officially retired, now spending her time documenting our legal frameworks for future prosecutors. "I'm building a network that makes armies unnecessary," I corrected. "Every potential killer we redirect, every victim we train to recognize danger, every predator we expose, it's all prevention." But not everyone appreciated our efforts. The first attack came on a Tuesday morning, not from the Ghost or surviving society members, but from Marcus Hoffman, a tech billionaire whose wife had escaped thanks to our intervention. "You poisoned her against me," he screamed during the confrontation, waving a gun in our lobby. "We were happy until you filled her head with lies. Your search history included how to make death look accidental and untraceable poisons," I replied calmly while security moved into position. "That's not love, Mr. Hoffman. That's premeditation." I was writing a novel about a man who kills his wife for insurance money using methods identical to known society murders. What a coincidence. He was arrested, but the damage was done. The media painted us as homewreckers, relationship saboteurs who saw murder plots in every marital dispute. We lost funding, faced lawsuits, and watched public opinion split. That's when Sarah Morrison's family stepped forward. The Guardian Network saved my daughter-in-law, Sarah's mother announced at a press conference. They couldn't save Sarah, she died before they existed, but they've saved hundreds of Sarahs since. If preventing murders makes them controversial, what does that say about us as a society? The tide turned when more families came forward. Parents of women Tyler had killed, children orphaned by society murders, survivors who'd rebuilt their lives with our help. Their testimonies drowned out the critics who preferred silent victims to vocal prevention. But our greatest validation came from an unexpected source. Lisa Park's family, the young woman who died after seeing Margaret Thornfield for therapy, established a foundation in her memory. Their first grant, $5 million to expand the Phoenix program nationwide. Lisa would have wanted others protected, her mother said simply. If former killers are willing to prevent deaths, we're willing to support them. The year progressed with victories and setbacks. We prevented 43 murders, exposed 16 predatory plots, and redirected 22 potential society recruits toward legitimate paths. But we also lost 2 protected witnesses to sophisticated hits, suggesting the Ghosts Network was more established than we'd thought. She's building the Society 2.0, Diana concluded after analyzing the patterns. Younger, tech-savvier, less bound by tradition. Everything Evelyn claimed to want but couldn't abandon old methods to achieve. Then we need to be 3.0, I decided. More innovative, more connected, more embedded in communities where predation happens. This led to our boldest move yet, going public with our methods. We published The Predator's Handbook, Recognition and Prevention, detailing every technique Tyler and others had used. Critics called it a murder manual. We called it vaccination through education. If everyone knows the patterns, predators can't hide behind them, Rachel Stevens explained during a morning show appearance. My husband's behavior wasn't unique. Tyler Morrison wasn't special. They all follow patterns, and now everyone can recognize them. The book became required reading in police academies, women's shelters, and surprisingly medical schools after several doctors reported recognizing poisoning symptoms they'd previously missed. But success brought new challenges. Protocol 9's resources had made us financially secure, but also made us targets. Not just from the Ghosts Network, but from government officials who questioned a private organization having such power. You're vigilantes with a budget, Senator Walsh accused during a follow-up hearing. We're teachers with experience, I countered. Every action we take is legal, documented, and reviewed. Can the senators who took donations from Patricia Caldwell say the same? The accusation landed like a bomb. Our investigation had revealed Patricia's web of influence, including significant campaign contributions to officials who'd blocked investigations into society murders. Walsh himself had received $50,000 over his career. That's irrelevant to these proceedings, he stammered. Is it? How many women died while you cashed checks from their killer's protector? How many investigations stalled because Patricia Caldwell owned judges and politicians? We're not the vigilantes, Senator. We're the cleanup crew for your failures. The hearing ended with no restrictions on our operations, but we'd made enemies in high places. The war between old power structures and new prevention methods had truly begun. That night, I found myself in Tyler's old storage unit, now converted to a memorial for society victims. Their photos covered every wall, hundreds of women whose deaths had funded an empire of murder. But interspersed were new photos, women saved, families, intact predators in prison where they belonged. Diana found me there, her wheelchair silent on the concrete floor. Regrets. Every day, but not about our work, about how long it took to start. Evelyn was right about one thing. The system failed these women. It failed us. But instead of becoming killers for profit, we became shields for free. Well, technically for Evelyn's money, but you get the point. I laughed, something I did more often now. Think we're making a difference. I know we are. The ghost has to recruit in shadows while we operate in daylight. New society chapters hide while guardian chapters open publicly. We're winning the culture war, even if the death war continues. My phone buzzed with a new alert. Another potential victim identified, another intervention needed. The work never stopped. Ready for round 2? Diana asked. Always, someone has to be. As we left the memorial, I touched Sarah Morrison's photo, the first Mrs. Morrison who died hunting the man who became my husband. She'd been society trying to stop one of their own who'd gone rogue. In a way, I was continuing her work just from the opposite direction. The Phoenix program had graduated its first class. Former victims were becoming counselors, advocates, and educators. The network grew stronger daily, a living testament to transformation over termination. But somewhere in the shadows, the ghost trained new killers. The war between old methods and new continued, and every dawn brought the same question: who would we save today, and who was planning to kill them? At least now we had an army of our own, not of killers, but of survivors. And survivors, I'd learned, were the most dangerous opponents of all. They'd already faced death and won. Now they were teaching others to do the same. 1 year later, I stood before Congress for the most important testimony of my life, not defending the Guardian Network this time, but proposing legislation that would change everything. The room was packed with survivors, advocates, and yes, former society members who'd earned their second chances through years of documented saves. Distinguished members of Congress, I began my voice steady despite the magnitude of the moment. I'm here to propose Tyler's Law comprehensive legislation requiring disclosure of name changes, criminal histories, and financial entanglements to intimate partners, because love should be informed consent, not a deadly gamble. The journey to this moment had been brutal. After our explosive hearing with Senator Walsh, political machinery had ground slowly but inevitably toward change. The Phoenix program graduates had become an unstoppable force, sharing their stories in every state, every community, every platform that would listen. Rachel Stevens sat in the front row now, our national spokesperson. Beside her, Diana maintained security, her wheelchair armed with more defensive measures than most patrol cars. Behind them, hundreds of supporters wearing pins with photos of society victims. Tyler's Law contains 5 key provisions. I continued. First, mandatory disclosure of legal name changes to marriage license applicants. Second, criminal background accessibility for intimate partners. Third, financial transparency requirements for shared assets. Fourth, national database integration to prevent jurisdiction shopping. And fifth, severe penalties for identity fraud in romantic contexts. Mrs. Morrison, Congressman Bradley interrupted, aren't you essentially criminalizing privacy? No, Congressman. I'm criminalizing deception that kills. Privacy ends where public safety begins. And when someone can marry you under a false name while planning your murder, we've prioritized the wrong privacies. Senator Walsh, my old adversary, had become an unlikely ally after we exposed just how deeply Patricia Caldwell had corrupted his state's judicial system. He leaned forward. Tell us about the implementation successes from the pilot programs. This was our strongest argument. 3 states had tested Tyler's Law provisions voluntarily, and the results were staggering. In Colorado, mandatory disclosure revealed 17 individuals using false identities in marriage applications. 5 had previous domestic violence convictions. 3 had suspicious deaths of former partners in their histories. All were prevented from securing marriage licenses pending investigation. And the false positive rate, another member asked. Less than 2% all resolved within 72 hours. Compare that to the 100% fatality rate for victims of successful intimate partner murder. The hearing progressed with testimony from Phoenix program graduates. Jennifer Martinez spoke about discovering her fiancé's 3 previous identities only after our intervention. Aisha Williams, who'd rejected the ghost's recruitment, explained how Tyler's Law would have saved her mother from marrying the man who eventually killed her. But the most powerful testimony came from an unexpected source. The committee calls Martha Henderson former cleaner for the Black Widow Society. Martha took the stand with the gravity of someone carrying decades of secrets. In exchange for immunity and witness protection, she'd become our most valuable asset in understanding how predators operated. Ms. Henderson, the prosecutor began, in your 22 years as a cleaner, how many society murders could have been prevented with Tyler's Law? All of them, Martha said simply. Every single killer I cleaned up after relied on deception. False names, hidden histories, manufactured personas. Tyler's law would have exposed them all before they claimed their first victim. But surely determined killers would find other ways. Maybe. But we're not trying to stop all murder, just the preventable ones. The ones that happen because someone trusted a lie. That's most of them in my experience. The opposition fought hard. Privacy advocates, men's rights groups, and libertarians united against what they called government overreach into personal relationships. But for every opponent, we had 10 survivors whose stories cut through theoretical objections with lived reality. The vote was scheduled for the following month. During that time, the Guardian Network didn't rest. We expanded internationally, sharing our methods with organizations worldwide. The Ghost Network responded by going global too, but they were always one step behind, reacting to our initiatives rather than setting the agenda. "We're winning," Diana announced during a strategy meeting. "Their recruitment is down 70%. Our prevention rate is up to 92% for identified threats. Even the Ghost has gone quiet." "Quiet isn't defeated," I reminded everyone. "She's planning something." I was right. 3 days before the congressional vote, my phone rang at 3 a.m. Unknown number, but I recognized the voice immediately. "Hello, Bertha. It's time we talked face to face." The Ghost, after 18 months of silence. "I'm listening." "Not over the phone. Tomorrow noon, the place where it all began for you. Come alone or don't come at all. This is my last offer." The place where it all began, my old house where Tyler had slowly poisoned me while professing love. We'd sold it after his death, but it remained vacant, too notorious for normal buyers. "You want me to walk into a trap?" "I want to negotiate. The society is dying, you've won. But I have something you need: the names of every active society member worldwide. In exchange, I want safe passage, retirement, a chance to disappear." "After all the death you've caused..." 73, she said quietly. "I've killed 73 people over 6 years, but I know the locations of 300 more who are still active. Your choice: catch one ghost or save 300 potential victims." I made my decision in seconds. "I'll be there." The next day, against all protocol and advice, I entered my old house alone. The Ghost waited in the kitchen where Tyler had prepared my poisoned smoothies. She was 20 now, still looking like someone's innocent daughter rather than one of America's most prolific serial killers. "You came," she said, genuinely surprised. "You have information I need. And you have a life I want. Normal, boring, free from looking over my shoulder." She slid an encrypted drive across the counter. "Everything's there. Names, locations, methods, targets, the complete society roster that even Evelyn didn't know about. We young ones had our own networks." "Why betray them now?" "Because you were right. The old ways are dying. I'm 20 years old and I've been killing since I was 12. Do you know what that does to a person? I don't even remember who I was before the blood. So you want redemption?" "I want to stop. But I can't while they're still out there expecting me to lead them. Take them down and I can disappear." I studied her, this child shaped into a weapon by the society's twisted ideology. "There's another option. Work with us. Use your knowledge to prevent deaths instead of causing them." She laughed bitterly. "The Guardian Network would never accept me. I'm not like Diana or Martha killing for the family business. I enjoyed it. Every death was a high better than any drug. You can't reform that." "But you're asking to stop. That's the first step." "The first step is admitting you're a monster. I did that years ago. The second step is choosing not to be one anymore. That's why I'm here." I picked up the drive. If this intelligence is real, if it saves lives, I'll argue for leniency. Not freedom, but treatment. Controlled environment, rehabilitation. A fancy prison. A chance to become human again. She considered this. "And if I run?" "Then you run forever because we'll never stop hunting. But if you stay, if you try, maybe that 12-year-old girl still exists somewhere inside the killer. The ghost Anna. She finally told me her real name made her choice. She surrendered to authorities that afternoon, becoming the youngest society member to turn state's evidence. Her intelligence proved invaluable, leading to the arrest of 47 active killers within a month. The congressional vote on Tyler's law passed with bipartisan support. The signing ceremony took place on what would have been my 4th wedding anniversary with Tyler. I stood with the president as she signed legislation that would save countless lives, holding a photo of Sarah Morrison, the woman who'd tried to stop Tyler before I even met him. "This law won't bring back the dead," the president said, "but it will prevent others from joining them. Because in America, we believe in the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that starts with the right to know who you're pursuing it with." The Guardian Network received official federal recognition as a consulting organization. Our methods became part of FBI training. The Phoenix program expanded to 50 cities, and former killers continued their transformation into protectors, closely monitored but genuinely committed to their new path. "We did it," Diana said that night as we celebrated in what used to be a society safe house, now converted to a shelter for women escaping dangerous relationships. "We actually changed things." "We started changing things," I corrected. "The work never ends. For every society we expose, new predators evolve. For every life we save, someone else targets another victim. But at least now we have tools, laws, and networks to fight back." My phone buzzed with an alert. A woman in Portland reporting suspicious behavior from her boyfriend. Classic early warning signs. Our team was already mobilizing, ready to investigate and intervene if necessary. "Another one?" Diana asked. "Always another one, but that's okay. We'll be there." As I looked around the room at former killers training former victims to become advocates, at FBI agents learning from people they once hunted, at survivors building new lives from the ashes of their trauma, I realized Tyler had succeeded in ways he never intended. He'd tried to make me a victim. Instead, he'd created a warrior. He'd tried to profit from death. Instead, he'd funded life-saving programs with his seized assets. He'd tried to continue a legacy of murder. Instead, he'd sparked a revolution of prevention. The Guardian Network had over 10,000 members now. Former society killers, survivors, law enforcement, social workers, and ordinary citizens united in a simple belief: no one should die because they love the wrong person. Tyler's law was just the beginning. Sarah's law, requiring regular welfare checks for isolated partners, was working through state legislatures. Emma's law, mandating poison recognition training for medical professionals, had already saved dozens of lives. Each dead woman got her name on legislation that would prevent others from sharing her fate. "You know what the best part is?" I said to Diana as we prepared to leave. "We're making murder inconvenient. Every law, every program, every saved life makes it harder for the next predator to succeed. We're not eliminating evil, but we're sure making it work harder." To inconvenient murder, Diana toasted with her water glass. To inconvenient murder, I agreed. My phone rang. Another potential victim. Another intervention needed. Another life to save. I answered it with the words that had become my mission, my purpose, my promise to every woman Tyler and others had killed. Guardian Network, you're not alone anymore. Because that was the ultimate transformation. From a world where women died in isolation to one where thousands stood ready to protect them. From a society that enabled predators to one that exposed them. From accepting death as inevitable to making survival possible. Tyler Morrison had been wrong about one thing. Love wasn't weakness. Love was the force that made strangers risk everything to protect each other. Love was what transformed killers into guardians. Love was what built networks stronger than any web of death. And love, armed with law and backed by determination, was unstoppable. The Black Widow Society had ruled from shadows for 94 years. The Guardian Network would protect from daylight for the next 94 and beyond. Because we were no longer prey. We were no longer predators. We were protectors. And we were everywhere. Thank you for joining Bertha's journey from victim to victor. If you or someone you know recognizes warning signs of intimate partner violence, please reach out for help. Real organizations exist to protect and support you. You're not alone. Did this story resonate with you? Comment below with your thoughts on Tyler's Law and whether similar legislation could save lives in your community. If you found value in Bertha's transformation, please like and subscribe to hear more stories of survival and triumph. Share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone in their fight. Remember, love should make you feel safe, not scared. Thank you for listening, and may you always have the strength to transform poison into medicine.